Welcome to the Afternoon Rundown, the show where you have your say every day. We got the big kahunas. They're locked, they're loaded, and ready to look at the tickers that you've chosen. Make sure to vote every day during the midday show. Let's start off with the futures you saw on the NQ September contract. We broke through that 20,000 after reclaiming it initially on Monday. On the triple Qs, we're definitely at that 481 level, trying to recover a little bit off the lows right now. We'll have to see how the future ends up, but definitely a negative day today for the overall market. NVIDIA, the most selected name by you guys. Great day today or for AMD, not so much for its sister company, NVIDIA, guys. What was your look there?
I mean, I don't know if NVIDIA wants you calling AMD their sister. You know what I mean? I mean, it's
AMD's more like it's a cousin, more like.
Yeah, it's like I don't even know. It's not even. Is it a cousin? I guess so.
Well, I mean, it's
like
related.
Like a broke down cousin.
Well, everybody's got that cousin. You know what I'm saying? Everyone has that
because,
one.
Yeah, they're like 5 cousins apart.
It's not or it could be like the uncle, because you know what? AMD had its reign first, right? Like, let's be real. Like, AMD was the bigger. At one point, it was the bigger company. So I would argue that it's like the uncle at the barbecue, not the cousin.
Oh my God.
It's like that lazy.
AMD's
you know that one uncle. Every time, like, you know, the one with the shady a little bit.
Yeah. I think AMD is probably right. It's AMD. The reason why I say that is 262 market cap. Right there, so 262 billion, which is nice for sure. I mean, it's like you said, it's still an epic rise for AMD and for NVIDIA, but 3.26 trillion, 10 times the valuation, of course, NVIDIA, that is AMD. But yeah, look, we have NVIDIA written down there. So I just want to say this is honestly just a tale of two trades, to be honest with you, and it was just a flip up that really made a difference here for me today, because we actually were long NVIDIA early. We just punched long early. We talked about getting long 140. That 140 was great. It bounced into 139, which is fine by me, all the way back up into pre-market highs. Then we started to really struggle and start to come down. And this is where it was like, oh my gosh, look at this fall. We didn't have any kind of a movement to the upside until we were able to finally get 136.50 down there and run that right back to the 50 and then to VWAP, okay? But then when we lost it, coming back in, we tried again, and just the move down, breaking that day's low. I've said to myself, when this happens, I need to get short. So it's just like when we write down a level that winds up breaking and the momentum in the market is the other way, we're going to do this. So there it is, boom, boom, boom. And really the rest is history. That's a 135.50, 136, that's 131, that's 4 and change. We do have a piece left now. We probably have about 15% left of our position as it starts to come back up. Realistically, the out would have been right here on a 50 period. I'm probably going to hold this back to about 134.50 or so. But right now, it's NVIDIA. Okay, my P&L number 1 is actually going to be Meta, but we'll talk about that after. I can't keep the smile off my face on Meta, and you guys don't even want me to talk about it. So we'll wait for that. But right here, yeah, Neil, I know we were both looking at this one earlier. I'm not sure if you put anything on lately.
Well, I wasn't actually at my desk. I was regaling Brankles over at the desk when that broke down. And it's obviously the key level. I was only long off that level earlier, but when the reversal happened, I wasn't sitting at my desk. I'll get to some of the other chip names. There could be a big reversal happening on Google and Amazon that I'm probably reversing into longs like any second now. Reversing long Amazon, I should say, because I'm short, but getting into a long on Google. But when it comes to NVIDIA, I don't know that it's even broken its downward trend just yet. So that 135 half, 136, essentially where it closed, like that's your line in the sand. For me, the chip name that we'll get to AMD, so this would be the one chip name that I was short. And I think, like I said, I wasn't at my desk when things really broke down. I think this can still be shorted this afternoon, and that's going to be ARM. I think they're adjacent. ARM has been just as parabolic as NVIDIA. So it's down 8%, but ARM kind of did some ridiculous things on the daily chart. If it gets back to $163, that's where I'd be looking for the short. And just to give you an idea on this Amazon, because it's likely to happen, since the fail break at the open, lower high, lower high, lower high, all these lower highs. If it breaks out 185 above this trend line, I'm not just getting out of the short, I'm reversing into the long. off of this. So I just wanted to say that. And there's a very similar trend line on Google. I'm going into a long on Google if it does the same thing. So yeah, we'll talk about those a little bit later on. As really, like, it's kind of a chip. Baba and GME really stand out there because it's like the AI play.
Alibaba's on there. I didn't look at Alibaba today.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely have a look at Alibaba.
We'll get there.
A little surprised Tesla breaking 180 didn't get us to that list, but we'll talk about that eventually. Let's get on to Dell, which was again a tale of two cities.
Just got out of Meta somehow. All right.
The market's bouncing.
$16.5 worth of range, Neil. Tale of two cities is absolutely accurate. 161 and change to the high side, 145 and change to the downside. Can't seem to figure out what it wants to do. Marginally negative on the day, but it's up here. Elon Musk announcing overnight SMCI supermicro computer as well as Dell are going to participate in the building out of the AI infrastructure for XAI, and they're going to be participating to the tune of 50% there. So great initial day for Dell. Big sell-off midday, guys.
We had some initial great trades on Dell as well. And by the way, we just said we just got out. And so this position, we had like 5% left of our Meta position. It just came out at 500. I'll talk about that when we get a chance. Because right now, let's do the rundown brought to you by you guys. All right, so look, Dell was great. This is not going to look like very huge winners, but they were actually pretty good. That's a 150.50 or 150.25. We had this on in the show, and Neil and I looked at each other and was like, huh? Dell came all the way down here? We went long, boom, boom, boom. That's a 153 out. So it's like 250 or so. It did come back in right there. We got more out at the 50-period moving average. It did go all the way back to the 200, in which we should have got out. We were waiting for higher, to be honest with you. I was kind of up here at VWAP where that last high was 154. We got greedy. We did not reload it. Then it broke through 150, and we got out at a 149 break. So at the end of the day, we wind up losing $1.40 on our last piece. So was a positive name for us. We're still net positive on it, so have to be pleased with sort of where it is now, but not pleased with my execution because we didn't need to hold it all the way back down. I just was kind of daring. I mean, as we were doing this, we were also like celebrating that the market was starting to head down, and we did have that big Meta and NVIDIA trade. But at the end of the day, we're not going to have any negative stocks, and we'll talk about that today. We'll talk about Chewy. But Dell, great name. Definitely took me by surprise. I didn't think we would be down today on this news. And remember at the beginning of the day when we went live and we said that, I said, I don't really feel like this is that special news. Like we sort of knew about this. Dell told us about the demand for their servers and all their racks and everything. So and SMCI, maybe that was more of a surprise. We have to look at that. But for me, this was kind of a ho-hum thing. Elon pumped their tires, which is fine. He's using them. We kind of know that. So I like Dell. I think for a long term, it's a great opportunity to buy them, maybe on any dips, especially if you come back into the 50 period, which is 135.
I think the story might be like where this eventually bounced. If you zoom out far enough, which, you know, I'll admit to sometimes not doing that myself. I'll look at the last couple of days. I always do. But then that 15 minutes, if you just go back out to last month, when it did flush down here the first time, I think you'll find where it bounced today wasn't necessarily like a random spot. So, you know, there's your huge move down on the earnings, and then the next day rejecting essentially $145 in here. So like 145 rejects. Yesterday, or sorry, a Tuesday, you would have had a breakout from that 45 level. Well, there's your bounce clean off 145. If we're going to hold 20,000, there might be a reversal. Obviously, like I'd rather be in like Google and Amazon. I'd rather take shots at. They're either at VWAP or stronger names. But yeah, where this did bounce at 145, if you zoomed out far enough, I think this would have been a spot to have looked for long. But I still see that it looks very much like NVIDIA, where it's still in that sharp downward trend. And until you find a way to break out of that, probably needs to get back above the 150. So, you're waiting for the 145 bottom again, or you need this above the 150 level on Dell. Just zoom out a little further and you might have found a reason why that 145 bottom was quite good.
Catalyst today on GameStop, but it's up 1% right now. Not a bad look. Again, no real catalyst, but there was this headline earlier that the general counsel there rung the bell on about 2,200 shares to the tune of about $58,000 in profits. That takes us back to June 13th. Some insider selling there. What, guys, is your look on GameStop? Did you have a look at this at all?
Wait a minute. The headline is somebody made $58,000 on a trade? Okay. Insider selling. Okay. I feel like people.
Compared to.
I just feel like some people make $58,000 trading this thing on prop.
The problem is like Roaring Kitty is distorted. It's just okay. Well, what are we? What are we?
I mean, I guess you're always looking for those big numbers. So I mean, that still is a big number. I mean,
no, I guess it's different. Like
don't get me wrong.
if it's an insider buying matters. You've probably heard this story before. Like the whole notion of like what insider selling. Insider buying matters more than insider selling, because realistically, anybody. Like if you're getting compensated in stock and options, you're going to sell at sometimes random spots that you can always attribute some kind of logic to. But when somebody tells me they want to buy the company, like, oh, I'm buying shares of the business or the business that I'm helping to run, that always matters more to me than insider selling. So, with that said, you probably could have had a couple of trades here. Like I didn't trade GameStop today. I don't know if there's anything that stands out to me, other than Tuesday's bottom was today's bottom at the open. So when you're trading something like this, if you're trading GameStop, the long just underneath the 24 is your long. And this is the third consecutive session where you breached 24, not broken 23.5, and then managed to bounce. We know 23 it has been good support. And when you look at this daily chart on GameStop, I know obviously, it's no good for all the people that get caught buying those ridiculous highs. But when you come to this daily chart, you can clearly see that despite all of this, the parabolic moves up and the retraces. Parabolic moves up and the retraces. If you look a little bit closer to when this really started and kind of just see where these lows have been, like it's really held the same kind of support levels, but the moves are just taking some time and they're not really going as parabolic. So if you see that, it can be a long off that 23 level. It even looks to me like you could probably bounce off the 21 level, and that's going to be the trade going forward. So very, very patient. Look for that bottom. Scalp it, because where's the parabolic move? You're getting your dollar. You take your dollar and maybe hold some just in case something crazy happens. But that 23 has where it's at. That 21 has held trend. Those are the two places I would be looking. I don't think I paid for shorts today. But it's worth noting 26 has been resistance 3 days in a row. Suppose if it gets up there, they're near free. You could probably short that level, just looking for some kind of a pullback.
Yeah, just a quick update. We'll talk about GME in a second. We did get stopped out of the small piece again. We only have a small piece left, but we still got stopped out right there of NVIDIA. So now I just have a real small piece. We're still $2 in the money of this last piece, but this is what we're doing. We're see if it can come back in. I didn't want to short it until we got back up to the 200 or to VWAP. So that's one of the things. But still $2 in the money. Someone in the chat said, when will Sean stop shorting NVIDIA? Well, I mean, this morning we were longing it, and then now we're shorting it. And it is, besides Meta, it's going to be my number 2 stock today and lifting to the promised land. I promised you earlier that we would trade GME, but the problem is it didn't hit the levels. We talked about that long at 23. It's written down right here, right there. Same support level long for me. But the thing is that I thought I was being real all smart like. And I, last time on Friday, on Tuesday, we were bidding like 23.25. It came in and we missed it. So here it is right here. It came into 23.75. So silly me again. You know, that came in, or that was it there. Came in on, again, 23.75 there on Monday, on Tuesday, Monday, then today, the exact same levels again. So I wrote down 23.50 this time, and that's where I'm bidding. And it came in today to 23.65. So again, being really like frugal, I guess, missing this GME trade. So we missed that at 23 and change. I don't have anything else to say really about it. We should have been long on that. I really, not just because of Roaring Kitty or anything like that. But guys, please don't do that again. I like the stock, and I like it down here at 23.50. So, you know, we should have just been a little bit more aggressive with our pricing. And there's just a bunch of cats running around here apparently. So we'll wait to see what happens. But I like it. It's got to fill the right price.
Hanging around if you want to.
So we'll see what happens here with GME.
What a great look for AMD today, completely counter market as a result of this headline over here coming out overnight that the recent cyber attack that they suffered didn't actually expose any critical business information. The market liking that to the tune of 4 3/4 was up much higher though, guys, at the highs. Did you have a look at AMD today?
Yes, and thankfully it was only one look.
Okay.
So no, seriously, because we had one level that I was going to short it off of, so I shorted off of that level, and you can clearly see that it broke out. It was, I think, the first trade that I was in. It might have been close because I was in that mogul MGOL also at the open, but it was pretty close, and it didn't last very long. It broke that resistance level, and then next thing you know, you're just flying upside. I got away from it, and looking back, hindsight being 2020. Our original stop out level, sometimes you have the right level, maybe the wrong direction. Like look where this thing just bounced. It just bounced off 159.5, which is pretty much where we were stopping out that morning short. So we tried to control the losses there, but there was an opportunity here, I'd say, right about 130 or so. If you're looking at this stock in particular, I had my eyeballs on ARM again, trying to get back into ARM because ARM had done better for me. But if you're looking for longs, yeah, that 159.50 doesn't look like a joke to me. On AMD, this would be, knock on wood, this would be it once again, failing the 50-period moving average and then promptly closing back above it. This stock, and you know what, let's just do something like this. If you look at what probably needs to happen here for AMD, like you just draw like some kind of a trend, and then it just needs to break out of this gentle trend away from the 50 period. So that could be 166, 167, something distinct where it actually holds away from this range and then goes somewhere. Because if you're shorting the pops, you really have to wait for top, and if you're looking for the bottoms, you really got to wait for the bottom end of the range on AMD. 5% today, still very much in a downward trend, I'd say until it breaks 66, 67, maybe even the 70 level, but it's done this before. And the last time it broke a downward channel trend, just to show you, this was last year. It was in a similar like malaise, downward trend, gentle, and when it finally broke it out, you can see that's where the parabolic move was. I think something like that is needed for AMD. Not a bad start today, but not much change when you zoom it out far enough.
Excuse me. All right. Yeah, good talk about AMD. I'm not going to go over it again. Neil just, all right, you know what? I'm going to, what the hell's wrong with me and you here? Okay, so, yeah, maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Are they doing work around here? I don't know. All right, so okay, we're reloaded. I mean, we got stopped out on Meta there on the 200, but it doesn't want to go any higher than that, so we're short now at 86. I do have a bid here at 60. Maybe we'll get filled, maybe we won't, just to take 25 cents on the first piece because our stop is going to be up here at 501. I mean, we really want this to fall in, man. If I can get out of 20% for just to pay the fees and get out of that one and then reload it up here if it does rip, that's great. And then we'll do sort of what we talked about before, down to the 50 period of basically 499. But like to get a first piece out here if available on Meta. The market, I think, is trying to turn here, to be honest with you. So I'm a little weary of layering into any kind of shorts at this point. So we'll watch out for Meta. Still underneath 5 bills. I like it right here, right now. All right, I mean, again, AMD, I'm not really going to... it was more about, we talked about this earlier, I'll just switch gears a little bit. Micron had that 150 level as well. That was a great bounce early. Bounced off 150, and then once it took it, this is where you can sort of think about using it now as a level of resistance rather than support. So there it is. We did get that fill there on Meta. So now let's see how much lower we can go now as we'll take a 60 fill and then get back in. So there it is. We're short at 90. So a quick little 40 cents right now. We'll see if the market and Meta can flush back in. So if I were to, just so everybody knows, and we're going to talk about BABA, but if I was to flatten everything out right now, we'd be at the highest spot we're at all day. So that's, for me, that's pretty good. It's 218. If you want to go over and watch, I don't know, apparently England's playing there. It's 1-1, 2-1? Yeah, what's the score? 1-1 against who? Ouch. Yeah, I guess that is a little bit of a fail there, Neil. But whatever, the defending champs take the pitch in about 40 minutes, and then we'll see against what is going to be a huge game. I mean, Spain. That is a big game, and then after that, we got to deal with Croatia. So there's lots happening for the Azzurri. No, but when you're defending champs, I mean everybody pretty much. About England in particular. You're still muted apparently.
I'm still muted because I was sneezing, but You can't play down to your opponent. No. England is absolutely infamous for when they are expected to handle their business, they tend to not dominate or show up well in the games where they need to just
top two go
press.
through.
No, don't get me wrong. Like I'm not.
Yeah, I think
it's the way that they've looked that concerns me. Like there's nothing about them that's looked like, hey, this is a team to beat. Right, even though they have been, they are slightly favored, all that good stuff, but not cool. Let's talk. Baba's really not doing a heck of a lot.
Did we get the Baba story though? I don't think we got.
No, but we haven't got the Baba story. Let's go to Sharif, get the Baba story, and then come back.
Yeah, got that group with England and Italy and Croatia, and obviously that's a group of death, so that's definitely a sick group there. Guys, Alibaba today got, initially a little bit of a bump, marginally red right now, off news that the Lazada group was staying put, their parent company not going to sell them. How does that influence Alibaba? Well, they've invested about $7.4 billion in the company, so yeah, it goes without saying that they stand to benefit or lose from what happens here. What is your look on Baba, guys?
It hasn't really done much, Alibaba today. So all you can really point to is, I'd simply tell you that $75 has turned into a problem for Alibaba, and I think that's the level you should try to respect. So on Tuesday, well, check that on Monday and Tuesday, 75 was the top. You were above 75 today, but that was only the pre-market, and it was only in the pre-market where you saw that strength. Everything else underneath that has been a sell. The good thing about Baba is underneath the $70 level, it's already found a double bottom, so that long is still kind of intact for you, but everything else about the trend has been abated. So 75, it needs to get through that, otherwise, when the stock is trending down, you got to wait for the bottom. Here, Chinese ADR in the afternoon, will it get to 75? That's a hard. I'd just say it's very unlikely. I can't see any reason why it's trading to 75. It's trend down. It's not even at VWAP. I don't see the catalyst. If the market's going to rally, something stronger I think is going to rally. And what are the odds that we just finished talking about GameStop? Can't make it up. Like I flipped away. We kind of mentioned GameStop. I hadn't traded at all today. We talked about it. Next thing you know, GameStop goes from not doing much and chilling at 25 to trying to break the high of the day at 25.70. So a high of the day break on a squeeze name is always interesting. I would just point out again that 26 level is looming. So there's overhead resistance here. I'd rather go dip buy hunting back into 25 even, now that GameStop has decided to wake up out of nowhere, really. Nothing happened. There was no news. Just a bit of a volume spike. And another move up in GME. If the market's weak, sometimes these things start to go.
I mean, if you just look at this meta chart here, we were bidding teens and it just bounced off of us. So we did not get the fill down here on meta. We're bidding right in front of the 50-period moving average. Went 80 cents in the money. So we just missed that one. So now coming back up. That's okay. We would have only got out of another piece. So we already out of a quarter. We were going to get out of another one and hold half for the move down. We've experienced numerous times here in the afternoon of a very chilled out sort of market that doesn't move much. And I'm not sure today's going to be any different. We sort of talked about with the holiday shortened week and then the weather and just, I don't know. For me, I don't know. This is like the least amount of earnings that we're going to have this week. I mean, maybe last week might have been it as well, but
I think this week's worse.
Yeah, not much happening at all. Crypto sort of dancing around. So look, I really like Alibaba. I mean, we put this in our long-term account down in and around these prices. I don't know what to think about that story. Alibaba's flat today, so I feel like the market doesn't know either. With the NASDAQ being down 0.66, I mean, this is fine. This is normal movement for Alibaba. Look, we were so happy when we had bought it here, and we didn't even buy it there. We had bought it down into here, held it into these lows, and then let it go 30% in the money and didn't get it out because we were going to hold this for the longer term. I still like Alibaba down here, but it is making me nervous. We shouldn't be under. We're under the 50, under the 200, not looking good, man. And it's kind of get this garbage out of here to the downside. It's forget about all this garbage up here. Maybe you won't get back there for a minute. So I don't know. I can't recommend buying it. I don't want to chase down a falling sword here. I'll wait for it. I'm already in this name, but for me, Alibaba remains a buy. Every single time we get in here, I'm looking for that good catalyst every single morning. When we see it, I know it has the juice to get back up to the upside. So as much as I could talk about it from an investment, I think I like the long. I'm just waiting for that story, like an upgrade into China or just like PDD and Bilibili, all them starting to run, I think Alibaba can help and pick it up. So for me, I'll stay away from Alibaba for now and just trade the chip names. But again, a little bit of I think it's a hidden gem here, and I think Alibaba can go. But for right now, with China and the election,
something has to get it to go.
Yeah, U.S. election, obviously.
Yeah, it needs like a jump start or something.
Yeah, it needs something.
All right, so I'm gonna settle this because John Szymanski.
Sure.
I don't know if I said this correctly. Apologies, John, if I got your last name wrong. But so, Neil, did a bunch of little girls take you out? That's what we were told. Just wondering if you're okay. So if you were just tuning in, I did tear my Achilles at my daughter's soccer. It's co-ed. She's one of like 2 girls at the soccer. But at the end of it, they did have a game, and it was like the kids versus the parents for the final 10 minutes of their session. Like the thing that she does, it's mostly drills, and they play a game in the last 10 to 15 minutes. This one was parents versus the kids. I made one little cut on the turf, and it wasn't a big one, and I ruptured my Achilles. That said, for the record, the parents won 6-0. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. It doesn't mean it was worth it tearing my Achilles, but it was an absolute destruction. And one of the things is sometimes you take it easy on the kids. Sometimes you take it easy on the kids. I wasn't trying that hard, but a few of the parents were not playing around. We handle our business, but I appreciate all the support and everybody with the good wishes and all that. So it's just a bit of a road for recovery. Got my crutches here, locked and loaded to go. We didn't talk about Tesla. I feel like this is the first time since we've been doing this afternoon segment that maybe Tesla didn't get on that list, so maybe people aren't interested. But it's down 2% today, and I might be getting to it soon in a quick second, but let's just going over what happened to Tesla overall. I wasn't here on Tuesday, but it failed up this 187 level, bounced off 82. It tried to bounce 82 this morning. I was mostly looking for short continuation on Tesla. The best one didn't come when I was able to get it at the top. It never really pushed to 185. It was when it was back underneath and failing that 182. 182 was no good to me early. And really, it would have been a good stock for me, but I initially went long off 182. And that's actually the only reason I'm red, is because I went long off this 182 a couple of times and actually averaged into it, which you shouldn't necessarily do. The short ends up working a little bit better. So we had shorts. We're willing to stop it out, then hold, stop it out, then hold on our last short, looking okay. If we get back to 182, I think that's where the short would be on Tesla, and only because I always say these two in conjunction. Rivian is almost back at that $10 level. So we liked the long off 10 a couple of weeks ago, or it was probably almost a month ago was my trade of the week off the 10 level. It couldn't get past 12 bucks. Well, we are now within spitting distance of this right back at 10 in the 50 period. So I'd just be looking for a bounce here off this $10 area. It's not 10.20 or 10.30. These lows are essentially $9.90. So the long's really at the $10 level pretty clean that I'd be looking for here on Rivian. So it's getting close, down 5% today. The EVs did not have a good day today. And remember when I said I'm not looking for a breakout trade off the high of the day on GameStop because it's got that 26 level? Well, it just kind of failed that high of the day break or pulled back off that high of the day break. I was trying to dip back into 25.25. Looks like the bounce came 25.30. So I'm looking for a bounce here, making another higher low to play into the high of the day on GameStop. I know that sounds like a broken record because I'm usually looking for that as opposed to just buying the top. The dips are generally better on these trending stocks late in the afternoon. And I'm still in, I'm basically, just to talk about Mogul, if it moves, I'll let you guys know. But I was long this morning in front of VWAP, and then when it failed $1, I shorted $1. So it broke $1 here, I shorted 98, I'm still in it. I have a trailing stop, which I should probably move. I'm gonna move down to like 85 or so, but it failed $1. So MGOL was moving, looking like it was going to be strong. It is now breaking lower. It's actually not Mogul, I just call it Mogul. MGO Global, there you go. It's only 5% short float, but the story for this is the float is only 10 million shares, and it's done 150. So it was running earlier today. Now it's just flushing into the downside. So GameStop looking for that dip buy. We'll see if we can get it down around this 25.30 or so. Once it makes a bounce here, or if it makes a bounce here, I'm looking long.
So I'm almost like, here I am trading $500 names, and it's what I'm realizing here is that the spread and the fills that you have to catch, it's not my style, to be honest with you. Like, I'm in the position, it's going to the downside, and I can't get filled because I'm posting bids, and it's not, like we were down here twice, and both times it basically stopped pretty much dead on our fills down at the 50-period moving average. Now, it has nothing to do with maybe it has to do with it's a 50-period, I just need to get more aggressive. And I mean, always when you're looking at stock, you're thinking you have to get more aggressive with your price whenever you miss the fill. But it's like, now it's fine. See, now it's 11 cents. I don't know why I guess when it goes up, it's a little bit different than when it goes down. But there's 30 cents. See, 60 cents, like 40, 50 cents. And like when you're trading with shares, it just gets pretty expensive down at these levels. And it doesn't, there's a problem that I have, it has nothing to do with anything else. It's just, it's getting, to me, just letting people know that once I'm out of this meta for today anyways, liquidity's not as good. Like when I'm trading something on NVIDIA, I can get whatever price I want pretty much. Just within a matter of pennies. You're not going to miss it. There's a lot of liquidity. Again, another 400 million share day for NVIDIA, and I'm here trying to find liquidity in Meta. That's done 6 million shares. It's a bad look. Look, it's my top stock today, P&L wise. And I'm talking like this. It's just the fills right now, it just bounced off me twice, and we might lose. If it breaks 501, we're out of this thing. But just letting you guys know that I'm not loving the spread and the fills on Meta. So we'll probably back away from it. It just feels a lot different trading this, especially as a day trader or a scalper, than it does trading anything else. So I'm going to hold off on that until liquidity gets a little bit better. Uber came back to the 200 period as well. So wait a second, here's Uber just came off a trade ideas scan, 200 period, 1 minute chart. I guess right over there. All right, days high now, it looks like for Uber, or at least, not even. Okay, I'm gonna have to check what that fire off was because it's not there. All right, so Uber's not a play. I don't know. I'm just more concerned about this meta. I want to do anything against this. If this rips up, we're gonna get stopped out of it, and then we'll regroup on this short. So I don't really want to take anything yet. Future's not doing, I think, you weren't here, but the afternoon is so like, right now.
Well, I think when you get to this time of the year, everyone knows like after reason they sell sell in May and go away or whatnot. Mm-hmm. I've never been like that big of a proponent. I found like you still have earnings season, and then after like that first early summer earnings is over, typically the afternoons you don't want to overtrade. That's the reason I'm looking, like right now I'm looking at GameStop, because if the market does a big power move, we should usually be able to catch something. But if GameStop wants to go, if it bounces anywhere in front of this 25, still looking for it to do something. It's pulling back. I'm looking for it to make some kind of a move on a dip and give you a bit of a bottom. Once I see that, I'm going to look for the long, holding the trend up. Then it could go maybe 25.20. You got the high here at 25.70, 25.80. Like that's 2% that could easily just bounce off of and give you that late afternoon move. If you had VWAP here today on this stock, that was great. But I wasn't looking at GameStop. And now all of a sudden it's doing a little bit of volume. So I want to see this bounce somewhere and then jump into it. CompuCare team with the question, asked it twice. Which is better today? NVIDIA or AMD? On the long, so the problem with looking at the chart for AMD and NVIDIA is you look at the chart and say, well, NVIDIA is at those highs. That's the better. AMD is going to be the better value. But then AMD's valuation's insane, is like nuts. And in a lot of ways, it's been more overvalued from a valuation basis, which is why it's been under a lot of pressure, and then just hasn't had the growth that NVIDIA does. So it's a weird thing to say. I'm not interested in AMD unless it gets much more reasonable on a valuation or simply breaks the trend into the upside. That's why I was drawing that little trend that it's kind of sitting in here like this. Like this will be really lazy. But until it breaks out of a trend like this in either direction, I think it's just an inside stock, and NVIDIA is a little bit different. One of these things is not like the other, where like almost every single dip where it finds a bid, you're looking at more reasonable longs. I think one's stuck in a doldrums, and you need something drastic to happen before you can make a trade, and that would be that AMD. Valuation has never been great for them.
So
not never, I just mean recently.
Yeah. All right, I don't know how much confidence we have in this trade. We'll go little diamond hands. Here we go. Meta now 50 cents in the money. We were just saying like how we did not like the stock, and I do not. But it just came in and we got 500. So let's go. I mean, what else are we supposed to do right now? This will just be added now to my number one P&L trade or stock for the day. I am bidding some 70s here. Maybe we do. Let's go. Let's go right now. It's almost $1. If we can break through this little level here, then the next print, bless you, will be around this 499.50 area. Oh my God. That was me. I'm on this bid. Let's go through. Okay, you know what? I'll just... Okay, whatever, cancel. All right, we actually got that 76 fill. So, all right, here we go. Nice little move to the downside. We are really cruising right now. This has been so far so good for today's trade. Really, honestly, just really... Okay, let's go. Really excited about this trade right now for us with Meta. It is now $1. There it is. That's a dollar club. We were just nervous about it. Meta, we just took it out. 499.50 right there. Big position. Probably notionally wise, the biggest one of the day that we just had on right there. So that we were getting nervous about it, but it does go up to VWAP and we hold our level. So, I mean, this is where we talk about coming in and doing work and making sure that you study and figure out, you know, where your edge is and all of that. I mean, you know, we're going to sit here and do VWAP and talk about support and resistance and then talk about the numbers that are getting put up. And right there, we take some more out, man. $1.70 in the money right now on NVIDIA, $1 right now in on Meta. We just put this trade on for you. So we only have one trade for you here this afternoon so far. It's Meta and it's $1. So hopefully you guys have it. If not, all good, baby. But this is not all a dream because this is actually happening. The market is trying to come back in, taking the 50-period moving average. Hey, let's just sit back, relax now, man. If this is the time to crack open that cognac because we're having our best day. We had one of our best days of the month Tuesday. Today is our best day of the month. So there it goes, man. I mean, look what we're doing right here. Wow, into 499. Okay, let's throw a little bit of a party here and try to get something out if we are able to. Cross the bid, see if we can get something out now in the teens of 499. $1.30 or so if we get that fill. Meta coming back in. And the futures just kind of broke the range. Let's see how much lower they want to go here.
What's interesting about that is I love the fact that that's working for you. Like, I mean, Meta, I want to say that's VWAP, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
501.
Exactly. So 501's VWAP. It's trending
like
underneath VWAP. I know sometimes I have a different color VWAP in mind, so I look over. It could be the
501s.
But as that's going lower, I just noticed Amazon, I mean, I'm in it, but Amazon holding trend and going higher in this market. So I think really when you talk about relative strength and relative weakness, Amazon's looking a lot better than Meta. I'm going to get some out. It's still making, a slower headways up here. So it's bounced off VWAP. The trend line is now broken. I've got to move my dip buy to reflect the more recent trend in here and try and catch it maybe closer into VWAP and any dip buy. We get into the quarter as we start taking it out. But Amazon up this 1 1/4 into a down market. It's just held the 50-period moving average. And when you look at it over the last couple of days, kind of like a double bottom, higher low, and it's now clearing or trying to clear back out this 185. So I was long, I was willing to short it when the trend was holding to the downside, but now we're into the long on Amazon and probably going to play some of these bids as well back into the bottom of that trend. GameStop, different story. We bought the first available dip on GameStop. So when it failed the high of the day, I said the first place it bounces, I'm going to look for long. There's the first place it bounced, go in the long, it breaks the low, get out. I feel the same way about VWAP. I'll feel the same way about this like 2480 level, right? So I'm willing to risk 15, 20 cents in here, one play, and I think you could make 30 to 70 cents on GameStop on a bounce play. So it might not be this one, but it can easily be this $25 level, maybe VWAP down here at 24.70. So if I see a bounce, I'm just looking to join something to the upside as opposed to just sit on the bid. I said Mogul's not really doing anything. We're just holding on to that one to the south side. I was looking for an ARM reload entry. I saw someone put in that ARM was doing volume. It's not. Like it's actually dying when it comes to volume. It might be a little more interesting to be on one of the chip names that is moving a little bit more. Just a little more action in the afternoon off the bottom here in Micron. So if ARM's not going to go anywhere, Micron is at a pretty key sideways level in here. If the market's going to roll back over, Micron's got more room to the bottom and a tighter consolidation we can take advantage of. So Amazon's going to hold for it. Might not follow. It might not be able to resist this market pulling back forever, but as long as it's working in a relatively strong stock, we'll stick with it.
So we got a 4.99 fill there. So we did take a $1.31 on that. We got 4.99.17. So good fill there. Hopefully that will still pull in for Meta. So 4.99 and change right there. It's been just a really good day. NVIDIA. Okay, do you guys want to talk a little bit about Palantir? Well, Palantir's battle back. We did get stopped out right there. So again, Meta, NVIDIA. So my day is Meta, NVIDIA, Palantir, Dell. So that's 4 for 4. And then the only losing trade that we have today, and it's just one losing trade. It's not even like one losing name. We like most of the trades we haven't punched out on, even the ones where we've reloaded. And it's just Chewy. It came in. Ryan Cohen apparently got paid out or had $3 million or something free, and people thought maybe he was going to flip that over to Chewy. We didn't hear anything on that other than what we heard. There's the volume spike. There's me getting in. There's a breaking VWAP at that time of the 50 period, and we got out. So we'll slap a fail on that one, but hey, man. We traded, like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 symbols and 4 and 1 today, and at our best spot we've been at all month. So it's going to be a good one for us. Just looking for a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, you guys are talking about NVIDIA short. I'm already short, and honestly, we could have just covered it right there at the 50 period moving average. Probably not a bad idea. If a 134 breaks, I'm just going to get out of this. I don't even have a stop anymore. It's not like a huge position, so we're just going to wait. I was actually waiting to reload this at some point, and it might even be a 134 spot. So let's just wait to see. We'll punch out first, and then if it dances around, we can always get right back in. We don't pay very many fees, man. We have just over 140 fills today, and we're paying about $13 in fees. So pretty good ratio right there. The name that we wanted to look at earlier was Google, and that was at 174 for a long. We wrote that one down on our sticky note here today as well. Looks like it got as low as we wrote. It says 174. It's just right here this morning. It got only to 175 bottom. So, not much there. You were looking at Amazon. I always liked that Amazon for a short, but I don't know. I know it was breaking higher, wasn't it?
Only stocks that I can.
It's not kind of not doing anything.
Plenty of stocks over VWAP. It's one of the only big cap tech names that's holding above VWAP and holding higher lows essentially since the morning. If you look at all the significant levels, and this is not a double bottom that it put in here at 180, like 183.80, but it's a local double bottom when it bounced. And I was in the short off of VWAP on a reversal into that level when it really bounced. So I'm going to look for longs off VWAP in this thing. GameStop is making that pull into 25. So tried this first consolidation. Now the pull into 25. There was a local bottom at 24.85 here. So if it does bounce, I'd like to look at that for a bit of an entry on GME. Just checking out to see if Apple's doing anything. What, my mic is a problem, apparently? My mic is fine. I don't know. They were like, fix your antenna, but I don't know if that's working. Apparently it's still issues. Okay, they're saying it's fine. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Apple trending down toward the low of the day. It has made a big bottom here. I'll get rid of this trend line because it's not really all that relevant. But this is a 209 bottom and now a higher low. Apple's been pretty nasty, unfortunately, and gave up that support that had lasted, I think, the last week or so. If you don't hold on to 209, there's still a little bit of room before you get to where this broke out from 206 being a pretty big level over there on Apple. Like I said, I wanted to get into Microns. We jumped over into Micron to the south side, so we'll hopefully get that short working. Apple comes back into this local top. 2% to the downside. I can't see any way not to short this unless it breaks some kind of a trend, but it's a little ways away from it. But we'd like to jump into Apple if it can give you something up at the high. I wouldn't want to short the low of the day. So Micron's a new position. Amazon coming in for a reload as that just dipped into VWAP. Not a trend, it's just a VWAP dip buy. If it's going to hold out, it's the one stock in the big cap tech that looks strong enough to want to long in. The chips have been weak, but Micron down 5. I do like that one for a short. It's got at least $1.50 to the bottom.
All right. 15 minutes until the soccer match, or the football match, I should say. It's
Footy.
exciting. Oh, Frank.
Oh yeah,
we've got Frank.
you know what? In my
Ooh la
head,
la, we've got Frank.
this is what happens when you have a midday holiday, right? It's like I completely forget that it's
Caberna,
Thursday
you
and
may
we have
say.
Frank coming on. So hey, it's 2:45.
Chi-Town killer. The Sheik of Chi-Town.
The Sheik.
Not he's a Sheik. He's chic. He's always looking chic.
Okay.
You know,
Sheik.
not the Iron Sheik.
Yeah, well, that's where my head goes.
Yeah, me too.
You say that, I'm thinking the Iron Sheik.
I wonder if he's a wrestling fan.
Which is fine
Frank.
too. Frank's cool, of course he is.
All right, let's find out. Sharif, do us a favor. Find out if this guy likes wrestling. Ooh, look at that. We've got daily trading lessons as well happening very soon. Right here. All right. Without any further ado, we've got a treat today because we've got Sharif and Frank. So it's leveling up right here.
And wrestling fan extraordinaire, plus
we shall see.
Expert on all things macro, Frank Caberna.
All right. May have oversold him.
The director of strategy at IG, Frank. Good to see you again. How are you?
I'm great, and I am a wrestling fan. Iron Sheik, I think, might have been before my time. I get the reference. I don't know if I've ever seen him fight. I was squarely in the Undertaker, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, that kind of area. Although I think it's been coming across my desk more and more. I remember there was like the Bad Bunny WrestleMania. That one was wild. I think that was like 2020 or 21. But yeah, I'm into it for sure, man.
You missed out if you didn't follow Iron Sheik, Frank, on his boots. Those things alone were dangerous. They had wicked hooks on the ends of them. He would use them as weapons at times. We're digressing. Good to see you, Frank. All right, we're talking today about rates staying a little bit higher for a little bit longer. We had Neil Kashkari today at the Michigan Bankers Association convention making certain statements with respect to wage growth being too high to bring that inflation back down to 2%. That's after we heard him, Frank, on Sunday on Face the Nation saying that he thinks there's going to be at least one cut by the end of this year. Does that mean that we cut before we get to that 2%, according to Neil?
That's what it's sounding like. And very quickly, of course, I mean, it's like 100-point sell-off in NASDAQ from all-time highs. So I don't think anything to necessarily get too worried about. But yeah, the potential for this soft landing or, golden path or whatever you want to call it, of turning a little bit rougher than expected, it is quickly becoming apparent. And what that I think looks like, Sharif, and Kashkari, you could say everybody wants to hate on the Fed members all the time. You could say what you want about him in particular. They all seem to talk out of both sides of their mouth and everything else. But I think he is kind of highlighting, like I say, that rougher landing than we've seen so far, which could be economic data outside of inflation starting to slip. And we saw a number. It was really funny. The dichotomy of all the data that came out today in the U.S. was soft across the board. And if you just looked at that data, you might expect U.S. rates to be down 10 basis points and stocks to be ripping through their highs. And right after that soft data came out, and we can look at it, here you've got the jobless claims, which is down from the last reading, but is still, the last reading was the highest since summer of last year. And so this reading is the second highest since summer of last year. And so still seeing in certain parts of the job economy here in the US, some softness. But to Kashkari's point, and actually before I even get to the inflation piece, we might as well hit the building permits as well really quick, because this number, it's not the most important number in the world, but it is a high priority number, and it's the lowest since the mid part of 2020. And that's, we've seen some of the strongest data of the last decade or so since this period. And that was some of the weakest data that we've seen in the last decade. So a lot of soft data in certain parts of the economy, but the inflation data, to Kashkari's point, is not moving low very quickly. And so I think that he can actually be right in both of his statements that it's going to take a longer than anticipated period to get to 2% even, which is where they want to get. But also we might cut a couple of times. And yeah, you see here with the core PCE, and this is coming out next Friday. That's probably the next big number on the board will be this PCE inflation data that comes out on a week from tomorrow. And keep in mind, this is the inflation data that the Fed likes to look at the most. And it's been exactly 2.8% the last 3 months in a row. And before that, it was 2.9%. And before that, it was 3% even. And so if you're looking at the last half a year of data, Sharif, and the rate of change is maybe 0.5% per month, then at that rate, it's going to take, I mean, I'm just doing back of the envelope math here, but around 16 months to get to 2% even. Now, of course, that rate of change was a lot faster a year and a half ago. It can speed up. It can go in the other direction. But I think that's the point that he's making is some of the economic data is getting softer. We're definitely looking at 1 or 2 cuts this year, and we're looking at cuts in general, but inflation's not 2%. And so for all of the stock market bulls out there that want this interest rate to be 2% or 2.5% or lower in the next handful of months, I think what he's saying is we're not getting there. Although we are gonna get lower, we're not getting there.
And it's interesting, Frank, that you included the building permits as one of those data points off which we can work, because I kind of feel these elevated rates are starting to really have an impact on the economy. I know you guys have an issue with housing shortage like we do here north of the border, maybe not as badly. And so you feel like these builders are waiting for those rates to drop so they can start building, even though that demand is still there because of the shortage of supply. So it's almost as if these rates are sort of having the desired effect that they wanted on the economy, which is to rein it in.
Yeah, and I guess that's a great example of this tension. And like I say, it's funny that these numbers came out 7:30 our time, and Kashkari talked 7:45. And you can look at the price action across bonds and stocks and everything else. You saw that knee-jerk reaction of, oh, soft data, we're going to hammer interest rates and spike stocks. And then 15 minutes later, he comes out with these more hawkish statements, reversed everything. And you're exactly right. It is that tension that is keeping this interest rate market from moving significantly in one direction or the other. They're seeing the economy get reined in so many places, but not the way that they want it in inflation. And yeah, here you have for by the time 2025 rolls around, what might you expect on the interest rate front in the US? And they're still just looking at 0.5% lower, 50 basis points lower, although there is an outside chance of getting 3 cuts. But I mean, listen, we've got, again, I know everything doesn't boil down to a math equation. We all wish it would. But if you are looking at the fact that they have, I believe it's just 4 or 5 FOMC meetings. I think it's just 4 for the rest of the year. And they only really like to move interest rates in 25 basis point increments. And they've priced out, I think it's like a 90 to 95% chance, or maybe even higher, of no action at the next meeting, which is another month in advance of now. That doesn't leave them a lot of room to hike 3 times, right? That's an aggressive schedule. That's basically saying if they are going to get to 75 basis points or 100 basis points, a full percentage point lower, then they're going to have to cut more than 25 basis points at one of these meetings, or cut at every meeting the rest of the year. Whereas to Kashkari's point, the Fed seems totally fine with a little bit of cutting. Maybe that picks up some of this economic data that has been reeled in recently, and is still that higher for longer to continue to rein in the inflation rate. And it's something to monitor, that real interest rate, which is the interest rate minus the inflation rate, that being at 1.5%, 2% is historically a very normal number. And so now that inflation is in the mid twos, but not 2% exactly, maybe the Fed does bring interest rates to 5% or just below 5%, but kind of keeps them there for longer than you might think, maybe longer than 6 months or a year. Maybe we do get these 2 or 3 cuts in the next several months. And Sharif, they don't move lower as aggressively in 25 or 26 if inflation does stay higher for the next year or two, to Kashkari's point.
And you brought up a really good point there, Frank. You were making the point between the actual inflation rate and what's being given on some of these shorter dated yields, the 2-year, the 5-year, the 10-year. You're still able to get close to that 5%. So what do you make of the spread, Frank, between what you're able to get on your money and what actually is in inflation? Do you think that there's a bit of a wealth effect there that's happening that's artificially keeping inflation high because people are able to make that money on the spread?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about certain parts of the job economy, to Kashkari's point of wage growth, and some of these pieces, though the job numbers might not be as strong as they have been historically, and unemployment might be starting to climb a little bit higher, there definitely is a wealth effect in certain parts of these data points, and it's the reason why inflation has stopped right here at 2.5%, 3%, 3.5%, depending on if you're looking at CPI or PCE. I know, which is all to say it's not 2%, right? It hasn't gotten down to that metric that they like, that's historically sustainable for economies. And I think, it's exactly to your point that there are these little areas, these little pockets where money is still flowing and people are still feeling very comfortable. And on the math side of that difference, I've looked through the data a bunch of times, and that difference between, whether you want to say it's a short-term treasury bill or the overnight rate that the Fed sets, that difference between that rate and the inflation rate is usually, in normal times, between 1% and 2%. And so, like I say, them bringing this interest rate down to the mid 4s, but keeping it there until inflation gets down to 2% or even less, would be very normal. And I think that that's probably one of the pieces that they're looking at for, like, okay, we can bring this thing lower, but we don't want to bring it to 2.5% or 3% because we like that buffer. We like that difference to be 100 to 200 basis points. And so, I can totally understand where the Fed is coming from. And we'll see what they actually do. In my mind, the real question will become, do we get any rate cuts at all this year, or do we get the 2? I think that would be really strong for the stock market, this gold market, this crypto market that is kind of waiting, hoping for a couple of cuts. But in my mind, it doesn't look like there's any chance of getting 3 or 4 cuts this year, or anything like the aggressive cutting we thought we were going to get 6 months ago.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that dot plot that we had in December had 3 rate cuts priced in, or plotted in, I should say, in the market. For whatever reason, Frank, started pricing in far more, 5, 6. We heard at times. Now we're talking about 1. It's funny how things change so quick. Frank Caberna, guys, Director of Strategy at IG US. Thanks very much for joining us, Frank.
Thanks, Sharif.
Thank you so much, Frank. I knew he'd be a wrestling fan. Come on, we know Frank's cool. We know Frank's gonna give us the juice, give us the goods. And this is one of the reasons why we love to bring Frank on is, when you're talking short-term trades, or when you're talking equity markets, you're not always gonna be locked in. I'm not watching yields every single second. I'm not watching currencies every second, but you wanna have that bigger picture, because I think you're starting to get to that point where some decisions are getting made by central banks around the world. And that's going to start to matter. As we get out of earnings season, you can start to look at some of those economic indicators a little bit more. I said next available bounce play, I'd look for GameStop. So you won't see me in position on it now because the trade already resolved itself. It made that first bounce. We got out. It then held this low here at 25.15. So there's the bounce. Kind of broke back out here above the quarters. Was able to get some at 23 and then some at 27. Played into 40. And then look at the high of the day. If it's kind of a triple top-ish, we're going to jump out of GameStop. There might be another dip buy left. It's only 3 o'clock, so there might be another dip buy left. But just get to Amazon, I'll get to the short because shorts are probably less concerned than longs. We had the bounce off Amazon on VWAP. It cannot carry through the 185.40 level, so we're still holding it. I don't know if I want to reload if it retests VWAP. And then Micron, trying to push for that dollar move in. We shorted 146.30. If it breaks 145.30, I think the floodgates could open up. Down 5% is Micron. I think, when you see the kind of reversal that it's put in here, if it is going to lose local support, a retest of 144 can easily be in play here for Micron. So that's the short we wanted. That's the short we got on here. And Micron starting to power hour. Thomas says GME is going to zero.
Maybe.
You know what, it might, but it's not going to zero today, just yet. Right now, it's one of the stronger stocks in the market.
Wake up. All right, there it is, man. Apple, we just shorted it right now. I mean, we didn't want to interrupt, but there it is. Apple right away goes to P&L 4. We shorted it right there off 210, off the 50-period moving average, off the 200-period. Nice little drip down there. We almost got stopped out. Our stop was 20s. Our stop was 20s, man. We're short at 9s. Almost got us there. Tricky. But what's going downside right now is NVIDIA. This one, Sharif hit it before. He already hit the $4 in the money. We'll do it again. 1, 2, 3, and change right now for NVIDIA as it continues to go. $0.50 now. Wow, Apple. I mean, you are really, we talked about having a good day today. Yeah. Something like that. Look, we just put this trade on again. So here we go again, man. I mean, big trade alert happening. That's about all I can tell everybody. In, out, still got a little bit more than half on. Oh, wow, that was not expecting that, man. This is an 11-cent worth of risk. We just went 4-1, Sharif, in 2 minutes on this trade. So, again, you guys are looking for trades. Take a line from Neil. I'm your huckleberry, Sharif. There it is right there. Look, we got trades in spades. Yeah, that's right, about right. But we're more like, we like to play the hearts, than the spades. All right, so right here, we're a lover, not a fighter. There it is right there, $4.99. So we put on 2 trades so far. We got out of some of our NVIDIA. We're still holding that one. And then we put on this Meta trade, which has printed $1 and change a couple times. And then we just put on Apple, which is coming back in. We'll hold now. We've only got 30% left of Apple as it just went top to bottom there. So I don't know, man. $1 in the money on Meta, $3 in the money on NVIDIA, and now $0.50 plus in the money on Apple. I mean, we are just like, what's up, Brad Gober? What's up to everybody that's in the chat there, and you guys can see it. We could hashtag real trading, but we don't need to do that. We're showing you the trades every single day. Make sure you do. Go over and check out our #1 subscriber. Oh, man. As we sit here with Real Trading, we're on their platform right now, big time movements happening all over the world, and you can get 50+ markets. You just mentioned Frank there. We also have Forex, crypto, futures, commodities, everything available to trade. Over 3,000 traders worldwide. Go join right now, Real Trading. And follow them on Instagram. There's a few posts I've seen. Oh, man, right now. Wow. Neil, we are just on one over here, man. I mean, I know it's been a little bit of a slower afternoon, but right now we are starting to finally tick to the downside. We now are having our best day of the month, and it's clean, not even close. So, so far so good here now as we continue to make some moves on Apple, Meta, and NVIDIA. NVIDIA almost $4 in the money.
Market be flushing, and we're about to break. Sorry, check that. 20,000 just went.
Oh, man.
As you were starting, 20,000 was about to go on the NASDAQ. As you were finishing, 20,000 is now come and gone one more time. So if we check up here, maybe you catch a little bit of a bid. I'm not reloading Amazon. I think the market's a little bit weak for that. Amazon's in the money, about 10 cents or so. but everything just pulled back in pretty heavily. I don't know that that's the moment. And when you're under 20,000 and the market is pressing toward those lows, I don't think that's the time that you want to jump back into a long trade. I've got a bid out here for 144.60. I'm going to take 170 on Micron. That was the big level on the way up. It's the only place where it checked up. So if it slows in front of that, then I want to respect it. If there's going to be another long, it might be right back into GameStop. GameStop doesn't have to care what the market's doing. Amazon going to. If we don't hold 20,000, Amazon's very likely going to lose VWAP. If we don't hold 20,000, GameStop could continue to go higher. It could continue to break highs and all that good stuff. So that's the only reason I'm looking at GME here for the next available dip buy. Last time we were able to scalp trade it, take 20s in here, give it about 10 cents. It made about a 40 to 50 cent move, depending on the best you're able to get out. Scalps them out at the first 15 to 20 pennies, and then go for the same play if we get it again. If it makes a lower high, I'm not interested. I want to see it put in a higher low, which it's been doing once, twice, three. The fourth time was the charm. If it can do it fifth, I got no issues with that whatsoever. Apple shorting on a pop. Apple's not going to give us that pop that we wanted to short. Well, I wanted to short Apple if it could. Why is this? I deleted this trend line. Hold on a second. I'm just going to remove it again. When you remove a trend line or add it, I have to hit save on the platform, not on the chart. I just did it. No, I wanted Apple back in here at 210.5. So somewhere in this range, I was looking for the short. I don't have that order in anymore because it just hit the low of the day. So if Apple gets there in the next 20 minutes, you got to play it by ear. Things could change. And Amazon here, I am going to take it out if we get back into this top. 185.50. If the play is VWAP and it's only going to give 70 cents, we're only risking about 10 cents anyways. So I think we just got to take it if it gets back up here. As long as it's over VWAP, I'm in it. But I'm not holding out that much hope when 20,000 can't hold on the futures.
Yeah, so that's what we were. It's funny just talking about Apple there because this is that dollar that we have right now. Just put it on a couple minutes ago, but
I was 40 cents higher.
That's what I'm saying. So like we're all gonna have this is the 200 period and the 50 period. So everyone's gonna have a completely different spot, and there it is, right? And so again, you could follow what we're talking about, and sometimes people. I looked over and like Brad. Said that he was in the same trade. So it's like, yeah, you guys make sure that you for sure do you because see, like we just took another fill right there. I trade with firm capital, and so sometimes the amount of shares that I could have on is a little silly. So you got to make sure that you understand that, like for your risk to reward, do you all of the time because we're even as you guys can clearly see, Neil and I completely different beasts. All the time. Like sometimes we'll even have different ideas, different methodologies, and that's the same for Adara, Sharif, everybody, right? And so that's why we have the midday show to learn a little bit about some of these strategies, and then you'll come over here and you'll see that I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible every single day, and so that's kind of my trading style: simple, easy, scalp. And try to get it going. Meta is going to be my #1 stock. We've mentioned that again a couple times, but the thing about Meta is. I'm not thrilled about the spread, so I'm light on it now. We've just been getting out every time it comes to $4.99. I have a bid out there. I don't have one anymore, but that is what the strategy was there. Now I'm getting out on a break of the 50-period moving average now for Meta or for NVIDIA. We're already in the money off these crazy shorts up here, so let's just watch out for it. Again, hopefully it prints out for us. We did get out. We only have 20% of Apple left. You just saw me take those fills down there. Probably get the rest out here at a break of the 50-period moving average. I really like that as a trend breaker. And again, I think we've talked about that numerous times. Probably tired of me for saying that, but those are the strategies that I'm using and keeping them as simple as possible. So that's it there. There we go, Brad. So between 500 and 1,000 shares. So there it is right there. So thank you for sharing that and congratulations. I hope that you're able to make your best trades on your most amount of shares because that would equal the best possible return. All right. Peloton, Roblox. So what is Roblox doing? I did buy some Roblox. I don't know what the price. I did buy it at 34. Okay, so 35.85. 34 was a key level for us. That 50 period. Once we broke above there, we did get some. So we've recently bought more Roblox in and around here at $34. We're gonna wait for that though. That's definitely a longer term play. And we just bounced off VWAP again. So how I would trade Roblox if you guys were in this name. Again, a pretty strong name considering the market, right? So I would trade this to the long side, not to the short side. And what I mean by that is you're down 1% now in the market. You're basically flat on Roblox. So to me, a nice little bounce off of this level that also matched with past support and resistance. So 35.75 is your Roblox long.
Again, you know what, Roblox, I just pulled it up. I want to make a comment about Roblox, but I got out of Micron, so I want to address that first. Micron, it doesn't quite get down to that 144.60, but it does bounce off 145 in here, so I trailed it at that buck. We're going to end up risking to the $146.50 level and then play it out off 145. If it wants to continue to trend down, I'll look for an entry underneath 45 that can play into the low of the day. Amazon, as mentioned before I say anything about Roblox, I did not pull the reload. It's actually going to put in a lower high in its own. I don't think this one's looking that strong, but the NASDAQ is over that 2,000 mark, so 20,000 mark one more time. It's more likely that GameStop, I didn't want to buy it up here. I was kind of really looking for something down around 25 and a quarter, 25.30. It would have been a lot nicer up here, but now you're really calming down in terms of the volume. When it did that spike, we were talking about it in our rundown, and when we were giving, talking about the symbols you guys wanted to hear, it all of a sudden did a bunch of volume. On the dip, you can see the volume come back in, another volume spike. Now all of a sudden the volume's back to the nothing that it was when we started talking about it. So there was a hot minute where it was doing extra volume, but if it's not doing that extra volume at the highs, I don't want something at the high or close to the high unless you're getting that volume in. And then before we go to Adair, all I wanted to say about Roblox, this is doing a weird battle in between the 50 and the 200 period moving averages. And I kind of, when you do that wipeout bottom and hold it, I like that. If it can close above the 200, just momentum-wise, given the higher lows it's put in, like a 37 break, maybe not imminent, but I like that hold of the 50 period break of the 200 in a general sense. I could care less that it did a death cross recently. It's been in an upward trend anyways since, so that doesn't matter too much. Let's go to Adair at the desk.
Great look for Hertz here, HTZ. This one just dropped a little bit, but it was just moments ago at high of days here, initially trading lower after announcing its plans to offer $500 million in first lien senior secured notes due 2029. So initially a bit lower here, now up about 19% currently. Lots of attention on social media and 11.3% short float. So HTZ, try to get nice volume spikes here to go into the end of the day, guys.
All right, thanks Adara for that one. We can look at it. I just got another piece right now. We're just gonna put 40 cents in. I don't know if it's gonna take the 50 period or not, so I don't have to worry about punching some out right there. So my stop remains the same for Apple. We already talked about that 210.20s. So if we could break up above there, we'll definitely take it out. We are playing so much with house money to the fact that now, if I were to get out of everything right now, it will actually overtake Palantir today, being Meta, NVIDIA, Apple, and then Palantir, Dell. One red trade today, Chewy, and it is so far so good. So we'll wait to see what does happen now with CHWY. Hopefully it moved back in. We can check out Alibaba now as well. Yeah, there's that. I mean, we talked about maybe a bounce there on Alibaba, right? Getting through some levels. You may even want to take a VWAP break now as well of 74.50 back up through for Alibaba. So that could be another break long. Or again, I like it because it's flat today in such a red market. So that's generally speaking something that I will look for. Meta is starting to go higher now, which is completely fine. Our stop is 501. I mean, that's right where we are right now. If it wants to break higher, let's just get stopped out. We've already done enough damage on Meta. It's gonna be my #1 stock, and we'll just wait for it. Apple's already coming back in. NVIDIA, we already talked about. Wow, it's still going lower. So see, this is the best part about trading the way I'm doing it right now, in my opinion anyways, is that when you have these wins, you just keep on adjusting where your stop is. So 132 right now. So now we can go all the way to 132 and say, okay, now we can wait $1 is like our next stop spot. Like, can you believe that? In the money now, 350 on NVIDIA and trying to stop out on the 50 period moving average. So look at this, really good all the way down. And again, we stopped out of half of what we had left right there at 133, which at that point was silly. We should have got out at the 50 period, so we're not gonna make that mistake again. So this time I'm going to get out at the 50 period moving average and make sure that we do capture most of that trade so that we don't stop out at the top. Meta, almost as if there's news right now moving way outside the market. We could try, I mean, just because.
Not really. I mean, Amazon bounced. I think Google bounced a little bit too, so there have been some bounces.
I'm just saying, like, I've been watching Meta here. It doesn't, like right now, like I said, it's the #1 P&L stock, but this move up right here is not really corresponding with the market. So we'll wait. We'll get a little bit more up here, but yeah, this name's getting going here. So there goes Meta right back up to the top. Almost going to stop out of this one. Like I said, give a little bit back on this. Fine to do that, but $500, if we can get it back through there, we'll take that bid. But it looks like it's going to rip higher. So this is why you do get out. And once we're out of this one, we'll let Meta rest for itself and just chill out right now. As we are slow, we're just purely in chill out mode. So, damage been done for me today. If we didn't have the stream, we'd probably just be chilling. So if there are any comments or anything there you want me to talk about, please put them in the chat, and I'd be happy to go over any symbols for anyone.
1320 Wolf. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, I've seen nothing about Tesla. The question or the comment here, I got a notification about Tesla merger via IBKR Interactive Brokers. Anyone know what's up? We have a new service as well. I have no idea what that is about on Tesla. And suffice to say, if there was something going on Tesla, like you'd see probably a little more action than just the normal following of the market. So we always keep our ear to the ground. We have news sources. We get it in our ear as well. I've heard nothing, and I don't think based on volume that there's anything pressing happening on Tesla. I said if we didn't get past this 185.5 that we'd jump out of Amazon. I'm not going to let it get back into VWAP again. We're holding the 20,000 level. As long as it holds above 185.30, then good to go. And that'll be like that 50 cents that we'll lock in. That's been the range this afternoon. It's been bottom to top, a 50-cent range on the stock. So we're risking 10 to 15 here. Then we're going to make sure that if it breaks down, at least it'll make sense to reload if we've taken the profit. So it's all green candles on a 3-minute chart. So I'll give it a chance to try to break a little bit higher, but we're just going to hang on. I like to go station to station on these. Regardless of like how something works for you, like in the day, try to remember the bigger picture. So for me, this month, trading trends from key level to key level or respecting the range that the stock has worked really well for me. So I want to stick to it. I'm out of the Micron trade, and it is back under, it was back under 145. But remember I said we're above 20,000 on the futures. If we were failing under 20,000, I think I'd be a little bit more eager to jump back into this short at that same price level. When we're holding 20,000 again, suddenly you've got this little wick underneath 20,000 and a potential reversal happening in the NASDAQ. So when I see that, I want confirmation that we're holding back underneath, and then I'll jump back into the short. Right? Until that happens, I want to look for the same price we got before, which is the 146. So I just locked in the profit on Amazon, as I said. If it can't hold, we're just going to jump out. So maybe we get a bounce off VWAP again. Maybe. I don't know if GameStop is going to pull back and give some kind of a dip. It's at the high of the day. I'm not buying the high of the day. And we played the last dip into that high. Now it's exactly where it's rejected 3 times before. Well, if it's rejected, twice before. If it's rejected twice before, I'm going to give it a chance to reject a 3rd time and then try to buy a dip on a higher low because that's what's worked over there on GME.
All right. So let's just do what we're doing again here. Why not? We're short DraftKings. So it tried to break a little bit lower there into the low of the day. I thought we were going to be underneath this 50-period moving average for DKNG. It looks like it wants to get lower here against 43. I'm only going to give this into the 90s, though, because, again, we don't want to throw good after bad, and you've heard me talk about this a bunch of times. Meta, we could take profit now if we wanted to. We're not going to do that. We'll get stopped out if it goes. We are going to take something if it comes into the 30s, though. But right now, Meta, trying to stick a little bit higher. Remember what we said, how it's not moving like the futures? Well, there it goes again, not moving again like the futures. As the futures pull back quite nicely, Meta just hangs out at the top. So, okay, we'll have to wait for that as we go. Hopefully we'll pull back in and then take a fill down in the 30s and just keep on topping it up. DraftKings broke that level. It was the low of the day there right here, and it just happened. So we actually went short. We got a good fill, like we're short at 83.50s. So it's not a great fill, obviously, but it's not really like it broke it clean. it didn't really break the low of the day, and there's not a huge volume spike there. So I'm just going to use kind of like the 50 period, the same thing that we're doing everywhere in order to get out of that. So that makes a lot of sense to me. So we're going to try to do that here. And then after that, man, it's 318. So yeah, let's go over to GameStop. I mean, GameStop could be something that moves here into the close, and yes, it is. It is moving upside as it just keeps on I mean, you guys wondering now why we have the 50 period moving average. I mean, look at this, straight upside pressure here from GameStop on the 50 period, and it just keeps going, man, through 26, going higher and higher. I mean, looks like it wants to break right here, right now. So yeah, 26.20, good little level there for GME. So if you're in this name, watch out now. Nice move back there to the upside. So, all right, just quickly on DraftKings, I was going to say we should be out of half once it takes that high of 95 or 93 breakthrough. So we will lose a penny on that trade, and now see what's happening with a dime on that trade. Now we'll see what's happening with the rest of them. And it looks like we had a little bit of a miscalculation right now. So let's just punch out there of Meta, and there it is. We just got out. So we did take an L on that last piece, but okay, not much of one as we wait to see what happens now with Meta. Just DraftKings is what we're in. NVIDIA is still here, and Apple actually holding out as well. Let's take a piece out on Apple. Just don't want all of these stuff to turn around on us. We do have some size here on the bid now for Apple. So, all right, we're out of that push, and now we'll just wait to see if we can make some more money somewhere else. But it's going to be DraftKings for me. That trade breaking through 43, and we're out of it. We lost 10 cents. We have to make that back at least. So we'll hold on to DraftKings, see if we get a push down at the end of the day.
Yeah, speaking of push down, we just broke that 20,000 level, and local support is starting to go on Micron, so we're back into MU. We'll see if this one wants to matriculate back into the downside. GameStop just turned off that high of the day, so I still think it's got a bit of a chance to dip buy. I prefer the dip buy here, and that's what I want to go into. So we're going to try and respect that over there on GameStop. I'm sitting bid about 25.60 on GME, so that's what I want to be in the next to that long side. If Micron can't hold underneath 145, then we got to jump out.
All right. No problem. Okay, so we'll check that out. I mean, we like that Micron trade because we are short NVIDIA as well. So if NVIDIA wants to do the damn thing as well, we can watch out for that. Nice downside push here for them. We're $4 in on this one, so we definitely are liking this trade for now on NVIDIA, but still not doing too much. So we'll have to wait to see if it does come back. I'm still waiting for a 130 break. We may or may not take that break short. Not too sure. Apple good out there, and DraftKings not doing a damn thing. We can check out on Dell. Dell 145, so that could be something. Roblox, Ford, Oracle. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else snapping.
Snapchat's not moving.
No, I was just.
I'll stop you right there.
Yeah, it's not. Well, it's doing okay. I mean, if we get to 1530, maybe. But yeah, I mean, right now we're just going to be as patient as we can with some of these trades. Maybe Palantir. What's that at? 25.50. Okay, so kind of. I was going to say, is that 25.50? That's kind of in the middle, a spot that I'm not super excited about. So that would be something to come into play right there for us if it does hit.
I just realized what I need to order off Amazon.
iBit maybe, a Pan W. Well, what do you got?
I need a scratcher. That's the one thing I haven't gotten yet. I've ordered just about everything you need when you have a cast. I haven't got. I definitely need a scratcher. It's starting to itch like a mofo, and it's like it's day three. Day three. I haven't even been in this thing for very long, and this is a new cast. It's like the second one I've had in. So look, GameStop's starting to come back in here to go back to trading. It's one of those things that's probably like it's a small deal, but it's very irritating. This is the third time I've been in a cast in my life, and I know how ridiculous it can be, and it's frustrating me right now. But there's the last dip that just happened in GameStop. I want this to calm down. If you look at both times that I went into the long, I waited for it on the 3 minute to actually show green and show a higher low instead of just sort of standing in front of any random level. So for now, I am not on that bid. It is 323. I'm probably, admittedly, I'm going to get up to go to the desk for the aftermarket show maybe a couple of minutes earlier just to get comfortable. We've got Danielle Shea coming through. That'll be a good one. She wants to talk about the pause in this rally in the markets, if we're calling it that. I'd say with Micron down 6% and what you saw happen in NVIDIA, I think we could say a dip. I mean, it's a temporary dip. We're day traders. That's exactly what's happening here. So want to respect that, and we'll talk about what's going on in the overall market. She's got some ideas as well, so excited to have her on. But that's for another time. It's 323. The low of the day is the target for everything. On Micron, if it hits the low, that's 143. I'm out. So I've got bids on the way down, 44. We're going to take some more out. And then if this wants to continue, great. I don't know if ARM should have been the play. But again, the reason why I went to Micron instead of ARM, even though ARM had been my best trade in the morning, was just the lack of movement, relatively speaking, in ARM and the way the spread works on ARM. When ARM isn't going anywhere, it can sit there in like a 50 to 60 cent range where the effective spread is half of that. And I'm not a huge fan of that with ARM. Like when ARM's trading that way, you want to get it early in the day when it can go on those bigger moves. That's just my experience.
Yes.
So now we're starting to head back in. We're about 60 pennies in the money. We just got 44.12 fill here on Micron. If it breaks 44, next level in is going to be the half, and then we'll work toward the absolute low of the day, which is 143. Tesla will probably end up being, Tesla's not going to get back into 182, so I might just get away from that altogether. It's going to be Micron and GameStop are the only two things I think I will be trading going into the final 30 minutes of the session.
All right, we're now $4 in the money on NVIDIA, and then by the way, Apple, as we've tried to talk about this a little bit, back into 25s. Let's just put a bid down here. If we can get that, we might as well just do it and take that out now as we're falling back in on Apple. So here we go, maybe a nice little bid. We just actually stopped out in that bottom right there. Should have probably been a little more attentive to that fill there. So, all right, we missed on that. Oh, DraftKings. DraftKings just popped up pretty huge there. Okay, what's up with that? Big move up there for DraftKings. Someone just came in and bought that. So let's see. We'll short a little bit of this now and see if it does come back up. I don't know what was up with that move, but DraftKings going to be an L right there. Like, what? We were just down. I was like, oh, okay, we're going to get filled. And I started putting some bids out. Volume picking up on DraftKings shot. I don't know, just shot right up there. So I don't know what that's up with that. So let's put some more bids, see if we can make a little bit back here. But this will be a loss. I mean, unless for some reason it gets right back into the 80s again, which I'm not sure that's going to happen. So we're going to have to now wait for DraftKings just to figure it all out. So, all right, we'll do that. Breaking back up, we'll get out if it breaks that high right there of 43.10. It looks like it does want to do that. So, all right, that is that trade. That came out of nowhere, but hey, we got to be responsible for the L if it's there. We did not get the Apple fill, unfortunately. We tried to bid down there. Once we saw that, and we put a bid at 25. We should have just punched out immediately, but we didn't. And now it's trying to go back up to the upsides. There goes DraftKings, so that will be an L. I don't know. We tried it. It's going. I mean, look. Wow. I mean, I don't think there's news on DraftKings, but that is a.
Penn's halted right now, so it's not.
Okay.
Penn, I don't know what. Look, I don't know the story. I haven't heard anything in my ear.
Yeah, like nothing,
but
I don't
Penn
think that's
is
working.
halted to the upside. It was at $18.60 and now halted at $19.70. So a lot of times, if you ever see news and you're like, "There's no chance DraftKings makes a move like that without," let's be real, like that.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was
for
like,
sure.
what?
The first place I thought was, okay, well, is there a related name making a move? I don't have anything on the wire just yet, but Penn halted up 8%. I don't want to speculate. Let's go to Adair, see if she has something.
I do have something here on Penn, PENN. This is Penn Entertainment. Worth noting as well, short float for Penn of just under 20%, 19.2%. So notable short float, but right now halted to the upside, though not a ton of volume on this move, comparatively speaking, on the 5-minute candle. But basically, Reuters reporting that Boyd Gaming, which is a U.S. casino operator, has approached Penn to make an acquisition there. So casino operator Boyd Gaming approaching Penn Entertainment right now, halted to the upside, guys.
I mean, we sat here, we knew that was going to be something. That's too bad, man. I mean, that little break right there, that's too bad because we were in it and then the news happens. But hey, we've made money on news plays the other way. So unfortunately, that is just part of the game that we wind up playing here every single day. The best thing to do now might be to short the market. What time is it? It's 3:30, so there is still some time left in the day here to do this. The market just came back up to the 50-period moving average, so that could be something. So is Tesla. Tesla's bouncing its head off of here as well. So this might be the better trade for now. I don't want to give back too much here in the afternoon, but I will put something on in here at 181 on TSLA. So let's just put that on, and if we break above, then we can get out, no problem. 180, 140 or so. This little top break right there. So we're at the 50, we're at the 200 period, sorry, just crossed through the 50, 180, 140. We'll go short now a little bit of Tesla, and let's see if we can't make a little bit of money back from that loss there on DraftKings as we get stuck in a news halt, basically, on the competition there.
Yeah, effectively. And one of the things, I mean, I don't want to say, like, I would never say you fade that kind of a move. However, I mean, if Penn opens back up and were to dump, I wouldn't think it'd be that bad of a short in DraftKings. But it's currently showing a theoretical auction price of $20 for what it's worth. 1968's a haul, $20 the current theoretical auction price. That's where it would open if it was right now. We'll see in about a minute or so. But if it does open up and wants to flush, you might get a sympathy move back into the downside as well. Micron, our entry's at this 73. I just tightened my stop up. This 20,000 just keeps on wicking underneath, and then we just recover right back above it. So I've tightened this up. I'm going to give it to about 85 in here. I'm not going to let it retreat the entire move. So we were able to make twice on Micron. I don't want to give it up. You're getting bounces almost across the board here. Like I look over at Amazon, it might have breached VWAP, but that's a pretty distinct bounce off this. And the 20,000 level starting to hold. I might not go back to the well another time here. And let's go to Adara at the screen. Naresh, I will have a look at Nike when we get back.
Let's take a look at some of these names making outsized moves on the S&P 500. There are quite a few today, but we're going to steer away and talk about some ones that maybe we haven't discussed as much, including Gilead here. This went up over 8%, trading higher after the company announced some results from interim analysis of a phase 3 trial showing some positive results for its HIV prevention treatment. So nice look for GILD. Next up, we have ACN here, Accenture. This one reported earnings up almost 8% right now. The earnings themselves were pretty weak. They missed across the board. They also had lower than expected guidance, actually lowering from their previous guidance. But they did have a 22% increase here in new bookings and also over $900 million in AI-related bookings for a total of $2 billion in fiscal year to date in AI. So good look for ACN in this AI-related earnings win. We also have here XOM up 2.5%. Oil pretty strong across the board, the strongest sector in the day, as we have crude oil looking to close at this highest level in 7 weeks, lower than expected. EAI inventory. So nice look here for XOM, guys.
All right, I just realized that we're supposed to be out of NVIDIA because the market's starting to go back to the upside, and we were trying to track the 50-period moving average. We had set it at 132 and then just missed it when it broke through. We were looking at Apple, looking at everything else, and I wasn't even thinking about NVIDIA. So we'll have to get some out. It did break above the 50-period moving average, so let's take out the rest. It was going to be my stop anyways. We've canceled the stop, and I guess it was just that DraftKings hoopla there where we got a little bit distracted from this trade. So we should have been all over this one. Let's just put a bid there and get it out now. Did we just get filled there? Yes, we did. So that's it. Close that trade. Again, now it will be Meta, NVIDIA, 1, 2, then Palantir, and then Apple is trying to figure itself out right now. So hopefully that will come back in for us on Apple. But we do have a new trade alert. I think we had sort of gone over this. We are now into Tesla. So nice little pullback there. It goes. We'll take some out at 80s there on Tesla and now see if we can get a move back in. We're short right now at only 02s. So that's only 15, 17 cents, or no, we got 81s there. Whatever that is anyways, 20 cents. Now let's see where we can go for Tesla. It's a decent pullback again. I'm just trying to take some profit, but I'm still upset about that DKNG, and that's
Penn's
just
open.
what happens. Yeah, I saw Penn was open right now to the upside, right? So
Well, no, it did open up. It's already heading back down.
There
So
goes
Penn
the quote.
opened, like, I don't know, like a couple of pennies higher, ran to 1980. It just pulled right back underneath. It's trying to bounce off the previous high. Check that. I mean, it did bounce off the previous high, which is 1910, and tracking back to the upside. If it never breaks the Hull price, I'd rather be in like the sympathy name. So if it doesn't break that Hull price, which is at 1968, let's call it 1970, then DKNG underneath VWAP I like as a short. So there's two ways that if I short this into VWAP, if it breaks VWAP, I'd be out. If Penn breaks the halt price, I'd be out. But I'm trying to get it at the 40 level. It's 330, so we can't. Oh, and there it goes. So I might be getting away from me there. Unfortunately, it is past 330, so we can look at the early look imbalances. There are some. Suffice to say, Visa 3 million is not a big deal. 1.6 million doesn't matter. But Palantir is an early look 1.5 million to the sell side. It was a big buy imbalance this morning, but 1.5 million shares on an early look for Palantir isn't nothing. You know, if it gives you some kind of a fade into a level before we get to 350, I don't mind that play. And then if it comes out bigger, you might catch yourself with a little bit of a short opportunity. So tracking Palantir on that early look. If it starts to get smaller, I don't care. But if it grows in size or stays the same going into 350, you know, there could be a nice little scalp trade. Yeah, we're not going to get that on DraftKings, unfortunately. So Penn still tracking back. Oh, yeah, Penn's all the way back to where it started.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, well, okay, almost. I mean, close enough. Like, it just came all the way back underneath 19, so it's starting to give it back up. When it opened and lost that halt price, I think it would have been safer to short in DraftKings. You get a bigger move in Penn, but Penn's the one with news. Micron, I tightened up the stop, and it came out, so we had 75 short. The best we were able to get was 144.10. And now it's breaking back out. So, you know, we're out of it. We did short a lower low on the way back down. But Micron holding on to that 143 and now starting to press higher. I mean, the NASDAQ's really going here relative to what we've seen this afternoon. It's bounced off 20,000, and it really wants to try to press this afternoon range top here. So I'm going to back off. We might be able to still find something in like a DraftKings. I don't think I'll touch Penn. And GameStop, there might be time for one last salvo in GME. It's still in the midst of a pullback off that high. It hasn't even had a green candle yet on the 3-minute chart. So if it wants to put one in here, I'd look for a long off this local bottom, 25.40. But it's still in the dropping phase. If it never shows me a bid, I don't have to sit there and force the trade. I'd like to see it bounce and join a bounce. Join buyers instead of be the one that stands in front of the freight train.
Yeah, I definitely, especially at this time of day, not standing.
335.
Yeah, it's like, you know, you never know what's going to happen here, but the imbalances are going to come out and definitely affect some of the directional plays here on the market. And with that being said, I mean, look at that. We'll just go bang. Because that was a good, I mean, we were sitting here, came back in. This time I was actually watching it. You could see when the stock was, I mean, had a huge move down. So we just sat on the bid. Like, I don't know, it could have continued, right? It could have continued like this, but we'll take advantage of that as Apple has been a great stock. Like, we're making, you know, we'll make here what we lost sort of DraftKings. We went back and forth with all of that. So it sucks that we wound up getting hit right here on DKNG. But again, what was only a 10-cent hit, and then we lost another 10 cents, so it turned out to be 20. We could have just got it all out, but we kind of didn't believe the move. But, you know, and then we got that news. And when it's news-based, I feel like the best thing to do is get away from it, especially when it's not even news on that company.
Yeah, that's the key.
Yeah, a little bit of a bad beat there, but that's okay. That happens all the time. So, all right, 181. We just went below it again on Tesla. It doesn't look like it really wants to move. I mean, we did pretty good getting out at 81 there, but we only got out of 20%. 20%, yeah. So I'm still waiting for that 181.50. Getting tired. My son has hockey. My daughter has baseball. She's going to a hitting clinic tonight, so that should be fun for that. So we'll get home and figure all of that out. Now, okay, so now the market's pulling back in. So far, so good here on a pullback. Let's see if it does continue to go down. Come on. All right, let's take advantage of this and just put another bid right now in here for Tesla. If we can get an 88 or whatever fill I just put in there, we'll take it. Nice little pullback down. I don't know. Just trying to stack it up. It's 337. You can just sort of see when the market makes that move down. Certain names are moving and others aren't. So Tesla not with a big move there. Meta, glad we were able to get out of this one. My number one P&L name today. Shorts until we broke VWAP. And then we got out, which was a good move because we did go, wow. Oh, man. You see this trade again? We just went right back into that level one more time. I'm going to have to set up a program that shows me when stocks are back to levels I've already got in on. I'm pretty sure that that's pretty easy to do. So that could be something that I wind up building at some point.
Yeah, that would be, I mean, it would obviously be doable. It'd be a cool thing to integrate into Pro 8. It's a kind of thing. So here at Real Trading, there is an API in Pro 8. So for those that, are, good at coding, or you're able to, you can program all kinds of things for whether it's alerts, whether it's trading automatically off alerts. Like you could set something up easily to say, well, it comes back into a key price level that I trade. Like if my last trade was at X price, last execution, if it trades X away from it and comes back, that's reasonable. I know a lot of people do it. DraftKings did come back into VWAP, but I'll probably take the L on it too. I said if we go down on Penn, if Penn goes to the downside after the news, I want to short DraftKings into VWAP. So here it is. I got 41. The high here is 52. That's also VWAP. Oddly enough, and just to show you, Penn's not that, like it's bouncing, but it's not like it's back at the highs. So Penn's doing a little bit of a move here. You might expect that it would catch a bit off of VWAP when it had positive news. That's logical to me. But if it's not anywhere near where it spiked to the highs, I would think that the sympathy players shouldn't necessarily be breaking out. But again, all trades are just theories. You put the trade on. So here's my short, average price of 41. There's my stop above 52. So if it breaks that, I'm out. It doesn't matter what the hell my theory is. This can decide to be stronger for the rest of the day than Penn, and it doesn't make sense to me, but if it happens, it happens. The local bottom is 43.20. I want to be sure that I'm getting some out in front of that. There's only 10 minutes until the imbalances come out. And when you're day trading and real trading, you got to be flat at the end of the day. So even if this makes it to the low of the day, there might not be time for it to go any further. Matt Carnes, thoughts on the 200 break on JP Morgan? Oh, for a second there, I thought you meant the 200 period on the daily. And I was like, what? There's no way JP Morgan is breaking the 200 period moving average because I know it's way too strong of a stock. I'm not a huge fan of it because if you look at the trend line on JP Morgan, like the 200 level hasn't meant that much in terms of being clean. Like it's got lower highs going into it. 200 just seems like a round number to me. I think the play on JP Morgan, and I drew this trend line the last time we looked at this, I don't remember exactly what day, it violated the trend and then immediately regained it. I think when a stock is doing this, you're looking for dip buys, not necessarily breakouts. So it's got 5 or 6 good days in a row that are green. And I'd say if you look at the chart on these up days that it's had, the most efficient trade has typically been a breakout or like a late day double top, a dip buy or like a later in the day double top. And the dip buy worked here, dip buy worked there. You don't get much of a dip, it just kind of trends up. This one was a pretty clean breakout. Today you would have dip bought at the open and then it rallied. So if 3 of the last 5 days in an uptrend are dip buys, I prefer dip buys to breakout. I try to keep it simple. Sometimes stocks are in a breakout mode. NVIDIA does it all the time. And other times it's in a dip buy mode. And they can both be longs. I just prefer to play whatever the short-term pattern has been. But that 200 level hasn't been the cleanest. Even 201 might look a little bit better for that stock on a breakout basis.
All right. Yeah. I mean, I think right now at this,
great chart.
Yeah, at this time of day for breakouts for me, obviously we're not going to be doing too much of that. We just got Apple back into 209. I mean, this one could break down through 209, which would be the low of the day, right? So that would be some sort of a breakdown right now that we could all be a part of, 209.10 and change. We're already short up here at 210, so it's 70 cents in right now, looking for a little bit lower and looking over at Adara to see what she's up to.
More details here on that Penn story. So again, this reported by Reuters. Boyd Gaming, BYD, this is a casino-related company in the U.S. They've approached Penn to express interest in acquiring it. They want this acquisition apparently valued at more than $9 billion, including debt. This is worth noting because Penn's market cap right now is about $2.78 billion. So $9 billion deal is pretty significant. Keep an eye on PENN with that in mind. Short float of just under 20%. So this one could get some moves with this catalyst going forward, guys.
Yeah, like you would think that a buyer for Penn would just strengthen them as competition in some ways and wouldn't necessarily be directly good for DraftKings, but I suppose it's like valuation up, right? Like if one gets a premium, then it kind of gives a premium to everything.
Right.
That's the reason why it goes in sympathy. I'm just sort of thinking through the long term, does that actually matter? It might not. It's 342. This might be the only thing that we put on because I might have missed my chance at GameStop there. So I don't think we'll be in that. So we're just going to hang on 30s, 20s, and then see what happens on DraftKings. So it'll be this, and for that Penn move, you want to be looking at both. So Penn's still bouncing off of VWAP here at 19, and it's moved from 19 to 1940, and DraftKings is still putting in that VWAP resistance, so we'll hang on to that. I don't have any orders out on Micron. Just going to cancel. I had a stop order that I don't need anymore, so we'll just go ahead and cancel. I cancel it for Amazon as well. But I don't see myself getting back into that trade. Amazon still holding its strength. It did eventually bounce in adjacently to VWAP. Got about 30 cents underneath it, and then another bounce. Amazon's strong today. 1.5% to the upside in a NASDAQ down 0.8, in the ES down 0.3. I think we should be respecting the strength. I hate calling things like this a rotation because as if Amazon's been a weak stock. It hasn't. But it is bouncing off the 50 period. And if I were to draw a trend line, you'd be able to see it's just higher lows and now potentially triple top here. I'm liking Amazon off VWAP as long as it was, sorry, not VWAP, off this 50 period. As long as it can hold, I think looking for some longs off this are going to start to make sense. You just got to be patient looking for those dip buys.
So Tesla just went back into basically flat. You can see our price. I mean, it's 181.20. It's at 181.40. Oh, that's Apple. Oh yeah, by the way, Apple could be the one that just winds up breaking this whole thing down to 209. It might be the only one worth really attending because as I look right now, Tesla just wants to stay up here. The market wants to stay up here. So right now, we'll probably wind up staying up here. I mean, here it goes. If it breaks, we're going to be out of Tesla, and we'll be there. We go. So we will this good break. You know, we'll be red on Tesla right there as that goes up to the upside right here. The market right now, we had one move down, and we did take advantage of it. And then since then, it's just kind of been like battling with various names, and it really hasn't been working out. Like now, if Tesla bounces off here, I'll be like, oh man, I should have held it, but not really. Once it breaks your level, like we were just short there at 17s, and we got out at 52s. And we're not playing this. Oh, you want to ask a daily question? How many fills? I think we talked about how many fills we had before. We took a couple more stupid fills right now. Where's my fills? 390. No, that's not right. Hold on a second. 302, 90. Yeah, about 210 fills or so today. But like just for example, just like even on this Tesla trade, this is like 5 fills. Doesn't really need to be. But okay, so we're just in Apple now. Hopefully this comes into the downside. We are at the low of the day. I don't have too much else. The one thing I was going to say was IBIT. So IBIT right now, $37. There are some key levels that bounce around here every once in a while. We did have some high moves. As long as Bitcoin sticks around 65, I think it's probably worth having a look at some of these levels here into the close. So IBIT, 36.75. We'll put that down on our marker for tomorrow. Dell, maybe 150 for tomorrow could be something. Is Palantir bouncing off 25.50? Okay, so good. So we'll try to remember that. Tesla's starting to go back up. Meta, we cleared out at 502, or this is my best trade down here at 499. I was looking at 502.50. That's a reload spot that we said, oh man, we wish we had it. But now with 3 minutes until imbalances, probably not the greatest time to talk about a reload now. And yeah, let's just hold on to our Apple. You know, we like Apple. Apple's going to be a top stock for us today. And just so everybody's aware of how I trade in the risk, we'll make double on Apple what we lost on this Tesla trade. So it's a matter of like risk to reward a lot of the time and being able to be confident in what you guys have. Yeah, I've never really done a study on what's winning or what's losing, Piper, like what percentage of the fills. I just sort of look at the end of the day. I do know that I need to hold things a little bit longer. Okay, now Apple is now $1, approaching $1 in the money. So Apple just made a nice move down to the downside right now. I think, like I said, I think this is going to be the one. So if there's anything that's going to break lower, probably Apple through 209. And again, it's too bad it's too late in the day. I do think you could probably hit the short in Apple again. You know, when it broke to, I mean, every level it broke to the downside is going to have worked, right? Here's the 211. The very first time it broke it went all the way down to 210. Pops back to 211. Then once it finally breaks 210, right? There's 210. Here's the 210 break. It goes all the way to where we are right now, 209.40. So every last dollar here has gone without too much trouble. So if you break here at the end of the day, I really like it. Maybe if it comes to sell imbalance, we'll see if we can join it. But I like this trade to the downside here for Apple, breaking through 209. So we're already short 75 cents in the money, but I would definitely consider a breakthrough of 209.
You want to hear something crazy? Because you've been talking about Apple. I had this conversation with my dad. This is going to be a little bit random. I'm taking some out for like 5-6 cents on DraftKings because it's flat out not moving since that Penn move. But my entire family, except for me, are iPhone users. They
Right.
love it. We had a Macintosh computer in the 80s. My dad is a big Apple guy. And so you can't make this up. Outside of the indexes and all that kind of stuff, because every index and mutual fund has Apple, he's never owned Apple as an individual stock since the iPhone. So before, like back when Apple was like the cool thing that nobody was using, and all the PCs, like everyone at his work at Nortel had PCs, whatever, everyone was using IBM or something else. Like back then, he's like, yeah, Apple stock, cool. And then after everything flushed, he never got back. And obviously, if you're invested in the market, you've benefited from Apple, which I find hilarious because I'm the exact opposite. I don't use Apple product, and I always invest in Apple stock. The Apple sometimes falls farther from the tree in some ways, but like Apple is I think it'll recover from this, but there's no denying the downward trend today, right? And it's been that way since it got to the 220 level. Like that, it tagged 220 and it's been trending back down. Maybe it just needs to retest 200. Maybe the 205, 206 is also a big level for it. So as I mentioned, DraftKings with only less than 1 minute to go. I was about to say it was more than that, but less than 1 minute to go. DraftKings doesn't want to do much off VWAP here. I'll show you Penn in a second. I just took some out at 30s. If I can get the 20s, great, but I'll probably have to get more out in the 30s. Don't want to be holding this when we got to go back up to the desk. So Penn, here, like the good news is, hey, Penn's at the high of the day and DraftKings isn't breaking VWAP. So that's good. I mean, that's part of the thesis for the trade. The other side of that trade would be it's not good enough that it's just not following. I want it to also flush. So it's not flushing either. So you can be kind of right about something. The better play, instead of fading this, probably would have been just go long Penn off VWAP, but my idea was to short this and play any weakness on the retracement when Penn couldn't hold that bid initially. So I don't think we can lose on this trade at this point.
Flying.
Because it's definitely holding down here enough. But I got to get out in the 30s, maybe even just flat it if I have to. I can just punch out at 42s if it tries to cross break.
NVIDIA just came with a 7 million sell, so I don't. Remember, I'll take a piece out here. We just reshorted NVIDIA, right now. So I don't.
Oh yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be a big day, guys. Yeah. Tomorrow we do have the rebalancing again, so we'll see about what happens with NVIDIA. Big sell side there. Doesn't mean it's going down. I mean, it's going to get paired off. It's already been paired off a lot, so it could pair off and then just absolutely rip up. So we're not going to do anything too silly. If NVIDIA does go through this 132.40, I guess we can always get out of that one and just say, okay, well, I guess the pair doesn't mean anything. 132.43 or so for a stop order to be able to get out of that, as we just reloaded it there. So let's take some pieces out and we'll try to get that short back in. And here we go. It is $1 smooth.
Apple's also a sell.
Yeah, Apple's $1 smooth.
And Amazon.
Yeah, okay. So I mean.
So Apple $2 million to sell, NVIDIA 7, Amazon 1.4. With tomorrow being the rebalancing, it is expected downwards on most of these big cap names because they've been so ridiculously strong. Which does make some sense. And don't forget, of course, you've got CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike, I always forget it. It's
GoDaddy and it's
GoDaddy is the one I always forget. KKR, I remember it's GoDaddy that I forget. Not excited about GoDaddy at all. The big one, is CrowdStrike.
Okay, I mean, we just sat here and we talked all about the trade that we would take if there was more time left. Did you take it or not? We'll props it up to everybody right there because we said Apple probably to the downside, and there goes Apple. Now $1, as we keep saying that, in the money now for Apple going lower. I mean, this was, for me, just off the 50 period, executed pretty much perfectly for me anyways, and then there's the push down in. Instead of just sitting here waiting for further of a flush, let's just take that bid right now and go. That was another one, and props it up for anybody that had it. All right, we are just adding to our day here, of course, as we look at our friend NVIDIA. We're only short right here right now, just watching out because there was that big imbalance there, and that's why we went short, for no other reason other than that. So we have to be careful not to get hit here, being silly because we thought that this imbalance was going to do something more than it clearly is. So right now, we'll just wait for NVIDIA to do something else. It's not looking like it wants to do too much. We'll bid in the 30s, just see if we can just take 20 cents here or there. I actually might as well fix the stop if it breaks through 132. I imagine that it will break when those imbalances refresh at 355, which is still a couple minutes away. So we'll wait for that one. Out of Apple, that was a good out, I guess. So a good trade there to end the day here for Apple for everybody, down into the downside. Tesla, we did take an L on that, but we sort of talked about it. Now we've made more than that money that we lost on Tesla and Apple with that fill. So that's pretty natural right there. Let's just take a fill on NVIDIA. I know this is going to look silly to take a dime and change, but maybe we get a downside push, maybe we don't. That imbalance is not, it's only 90 seconds from now.
It's still at 6
Still
million.
there, still
The
there.
paired volume on that imbalance being 15 million. That's a lot of open interest in the close tonight on NVIDIA, but it'll probably be even the open. I don't know how big the imbalance will be. Just because the stocks are up and they got to reweight to the downside does not mean tomorrow they're all going to come out gigantic sells or they're all going to sell off, because they could just pair off. But I'm expecting to see tens of millions of shares for paired volume on every single one of the big cap names. Like Apple's only paired off 5.8 million. I'm expecting those to be really large numbers tomorrow. That's usually what happens. I'm now out of DraftKings, so it comes into VWAP. I had 42 as a price. We take 2/3 out here at 32, and then it goes to 43.20. I'd say it's decent, but part of the issue, of course, is Penn broke the high. So Penn, you play it the other way, you don't play the fade, Penn bounces off 19 and goes up $1. So the good news is DraftKings fade worked because it was weak relative to Penn, but Penn bouncing and ends up breaking out that whole price, ends up getting to a fresh high, up 9% for the session. This should be one at least worth watching tomorrow. It's in the midst of a breakout. It doesn't have a gigantic short float, but I mean, how much does it take when a stock is making a trend like this is now starting to put on? So watch out for Penn. Anytime you have any kind of deal speculation, it can have the net effect of putting a semi-floor on the stock right around where it got announced, right? That people are like, hey, well, if it was good around here, you can dip buy off that level. Just be careful if there is any lack of follow-up news in the next couple of days. So 355 just hit. I'm just going to stick around to see. NVIDIA still 2.3 million to the sell side, so that's still a big sell. Apple and Amazon both paired off, but NVIDIA still a sell imbalance.
All right, yeah, man. Good trading here to stop the day. And yeah, we will see Neil on the recap show as he'll go over there. But hey, man, I mean, that was good. NVIDIA, we just got filled at tens right there on the downside there for NVIDIA, as we just have a very, very small piece left. Ooh, cancel your meta trades, my guy. All right, start to cancel everything. Looks like that NVIDIA trade will work out for us. We might as well just put a bid out right now. We're short. We'll get a bid in the 30s. Well, you know what? Let's just hold it all the way, whatever. NVIDIA still a sell. We'll see if there's any money to come in here at the end for NVDA. Looks like we did take a good advantage of Apple as that went back down in and we get that fill. We are now flat. We don't have any more orders pending or nothing else going on right now. So again, which will be a pretty decent day for us here again, one of the best days. We did give some back up at the end. We talked about that with DraftKings. DraftKings was really, it's crazy that it came all the way back down right now, but all right, man, yeah, see you, man, see you. Enjoy the recap show. And we'll be here.
You gotta do me like that.
Huh?
No, they just showed me getting.
Oh, they showed you getting up. Yeah, they're savages, these people. All right, so there's NVIDIA. Here's the pullback. It looks like it does want to break 131. So a nice downside push here for NVDA, trying to get down below 131 here with just 3 minutes left for now. 131 and change, trying to fill. There it goes. Yes, sir. That was a face slapper. And anybody that was wondering, Italy and Spain are at half. And I was watching it, and it's a tie game. So the Spanish and the Azzurri right now tied up 0-0 for anybody asking in the back. Halftime is upon us. All right, so we'll wait down here. Maybe we'll go to Little Italy after this. All right, nice move down, 130 and change, 130.80 coming in here for NVDA. Good trade to end the day. Hey, it's just a ho-hum 70-cent winner here. Let's just put a bid out and clap it out right there. We are now done from NVIDIA. Good reshort. Thank you for finding that rebalance there. And remember, tomorrow we do have an imbalance again, so we'll wait to see if there's anything there. NVIDIA is starting to pair off. We're already out of it, but look at it continue to fall down. So NVIDIA continues to make moves back to the downside now, 130 and change. That Apple breaks, goes back. Tesla's where it is. What a good day it was today, and I hope everybody did have a good time and enjoyed themselves and will be able to trade back with us again. So, wow, with only 2 minutes left. Yo, how's it going? Good. It's always nice to see my Freedom and Wealth compadre come by there. See what's up, man. Guy delivering some waters. I like this. All right. Look, a minute and a half left. Just a quick little recap here on some stuff. So NASDAQ down 0.79. Let's just check out for everybody what NVIDIA's end of the day run is. Down 4%, not good. We always look at, come over to the screen here. Ramin, flip the screen, and I'm just going to run over some stocks quickly. AMD up 5%. So very rare do we see this one up and the other one down. So we'll have to wait to see that relationship coming up here for NVIDIA and AMD and what that looks like moving forward. Apple 220.20 the high. We only have 1 minute now until the U.S. market close. We will get, I have to go back there. There's the countdown. We'll get that countdown ready to go. That's Apple. Quick check in on the banks. We haven't checked on much of them lately. Looks like banks up today, up 1%. So again, some of the tech names down. NASDAQ down 1%. Banks up 1%. So understand the rotation could be happening, especially with rate cuts coming through. Penn is up now 10%, starting to go. Penn holding bids. It did fall back down. Penn coming back in right now. DraftKings, let's have another quick look at DraftKings. As NVIDIA says, see you later, by the way. Look at DraftKings, man. I hate to have been right on that one, but it don't matter. We got hit on that. NVIDIA, man, that was a good punch short. We had just done that on that imbalance. It's now $1 in the money on that punch short. But you don't have to worry about any more dollar winners because right now the countdown is on and we only have 10 more seconds until we all got to be flat around here with only now 5, Adara. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, what's up, Adara? Yeah, you might want to get that razor going over there. Thank you, Fabian, for that one. He rings the bell there. He is Fabian, he is Chilean, and he is fantastic. So there we go. Hey, it's going to be a good closing show. Neil has trekked all the way over there. Told him I would do it for him tonight, so don't hate on me. But Neil stepping up. Thanks for that, Neil. Hopefully he's in. I don't know if he's. Can we say that you're not going to be in tomorrow? Yeah, so Neil, so just letting everybody know, and I'm just telling you, you know, he's putting in the work today, came in. We want to thank Neil for that. Obi will come in tomorrow. Neil, rest up. Hopefully have a great weekend, come back. He won't be better than ever. That's done now. But he will be better than he is today. So we say we hope for that for Neil. Yeah, go get him here. Are we ready to go? With the market recap show, you're going to have Danielle Shea, Adara, and Neil. And then tomorrow, myself and Obi will be on right in here with the Sharif and Adara. So far, so good. Thank you again, everybody, for watching. Make sure you do hit the like and subscribe. And we'll be back here tomorrow. For now, it's the market recap show. See you, everybody.
Hi, everybody. And look, thank you, everybody, for all the well wishes. There was a moment on in the afternoon show. I hope there wasn't a hot mic because I kind of accidentally, as I was trying to like massage the leg and get into comfortable position, it kind of dropped and like the cast is heavy and it hit the ground and you would have heard me curse and almost like I was just like, Argh. But, you know, I'm doing the best that we can here. You got to be able to move on. And what the market is trying to do is move on. Adara, we started the day with another all-time high. Right. This is what we were supposed to be. It's supposed to be S&P all-time highs. The NASDAQ was supposed to be powering to the upside. Everything was going to be all good. You had the chips, tech names. Supermicro was up on news. Dell was up on news. NVIDIA was doing NVIDIA things, but they gave up the gains, especially around midday. Things really started to accelerate to the downside. Like if you're looking specifically because just talking about NVIDIA here while we're talking about this. If you look specifically right in the middle of the day, I'll just pop a 3-minute chart. It was trend down and selling after that all-time high, but it really, really accelerated at noon. We had Fed Kashkari talking before the bell. Like he thinks it'll take another year or two to get to that 2%, which Britain already got to. And look at them, all fancy. But at the end of the day, markets giving things back up. We did have a push higher for oil. That's because we had a crude inventory report. I know it's a Tuesday, or sorry, it's a Thursday, but then a holiday being yesterday, you got that out today, and inventories dropped by 2.5 million barrels. So there was some strength over there in crude. When you look at the individual sectors out here, I mean, look at where the strength is, and it's not normally the things that we like to see. Like, we don't, come on, like silver, we're not trading it. Great if you like it. We've got silver, gold, 3.8, GDX up 2.5%, GLD up 1.25%. As mentioned, oil caught a bid with XLE powering to the upside here, holding some strength up 2 points. This is the one I kind of wanted to go over first, just looking at XLE. I think for obvious reasons, if you know me, then you can understand why this gets interesting. You just had a bounce off the 200 period for oil at a key $88 level. You had a bit of a pullback and a downward trend, lower highs, lower lows as well being put in, a chance to break that trend. So if this were to get back above the 50, it would be a break of this trend of these lower highs and the bounce off the 200. It gives you an opportunity for this to get some momentum back to the upside. So you're finally seeing a bit of a curl specifically in XLE. This is one thing we should be watching. Got to watch out for these oil and energy names if it can maintain this. Unfortunately, you would have seen this morning us talk about this in the morning show, First Solar and some of the other names getting trounced. TAN's down 3%, but FSLR, we talk about things being the best of breed. So when TAN's down this 3%, we know Solar Edge this morning, Adara,
And Enphase
both downgraded. First Solar is only down 1%. So this is what we mean by relative strength. I'm not telling you to run out and go buy First Solar. It's still in a bit of a pullback phase, but it matters that when TAN is down 3%, when Enphase is getting hit, when Solar Edge is getting hit, that First Solar is clearly the one that the buying steps into, and we want to make sure we respect that. We have a couple of earnings names,
We do.
Smith & Wesson, and then
Some
one
other
more,
thing.
one other, some other
That starts
thing.
with an A.
That starts with an A. It's a ASTL, not a stock that we're that interested in, but Smith & Wesson might be a bit of a mover here. We'll get those numbers when they do come out there, Adara.
Yeah.
But there's an interesting thing. We don't actually have any indicated expected move on.
We don't even have an expected time on Smith & Wesson.
We don't know.
So
I don't want to jump. I don't want to jump the gun and try to give you, hey, this is going to come out at this particular time. We just don't know.
no, we don't.
See what I did there?
Surprise.
Nothing.
Wait, what?
I don't want to jump the gun.
Oh, jump the gun! I was gonna. Oh, yeah.
Oh, come
That
on.
was really. You delivered it so casually. I want to shout out to Neil for that pun there. Don't do the crickets. I liked it. I am just too tired.
Can I even get like a sympathy laugh for me?
I liked it. Once I caught it,
That was
liked it.
Fabian?
Oh.
Fabian.
Fabian. For shame.
I can't fight anyone. I'm not fighting anybody. I'm losing every single fight. I can't walk.
Oh, Smith & Wesson came out. It's like it heard the pun and decided to come out.
So SWBI Smith & Wesson earnings are out. It is a move to the upside initially here, so about 9% to the upside. So this is off to a bang.
Oh yeah, hit the ground running after that initial starting pistol.
There we go. No false start here. What are the numbers we got here?
Yeah, so it's hard. Again, we can't really have any comparisons because we don't know what any of the estimates were, but I can give you guys the numbers. So we did have net income, $26.1 million, gross margin, 35.5% for fiscal Q4. Sales are going to be $159.1 million. Q4 earnings per share, 57 cents. Adjusted net income, $20.9 million. I wish I had estimates for you guys, but they were very elusive.
Did you say this quarter sales were 159 million?
159.1 million.
So, and again, this is just napkin math, but I have my trade IDs up while I'm looking at the chart. I mean, the market cap's only 800, so if you're doing 150 a quarter, you mean to tell me that your full year sales are 600, as I'm going to shift to get some blood flowing. So your full year sales are about 600 million at that rate, which means you'd be trading at that rate at 1.25 sales. That's pretty good. People aren't like, really? That looks, I mean, it's not that exciting on the daily chart, but my first thought would be like, I'd have to look at it historically, but if you're at 1.25 sales, that to me would be pretty good, especially in this market. This could be received pretty decently. Oh, it's back to only up 6.5%. I mean, what do you want from it? We didn't have an expected move. If you guys have that, you can always let us know. We'll see what happens with Smith & Wesson. It's the big one. It's the one that we expected would possibly move in here. That ASTLA or STL. Yeah, that's expected like much after the market closed. So not much to happen there. SWBI, not much of a short float, but I do like the move, almost double digits here. That could be at least a little bit interesting. We're going to have Danielle Shea coming on in just a little bit, but I did want to maybe go back to a couple of things here, because as we're doing that sector recap, I wanted to point out that the Widowmaker itself, that would be natural gas, doing widow-making things, which is tricking everybody into thinking it's breaking out. UNG double topping and proceeding to pull back. Now it's already made a bottom. You could argue it's still making some higher lows. I think this needs a little bit of confirmation. Anybody watching knows that I was in Tellurian. I liked Tellurian a while back, and then it was my trade of the week a couple of weeks ago off of this 60 area into a buck. It got to 95 cents. It's right back at that support level. So this can get spicy again. If UNG can bounce and show a little pep in its step the next couple of days, then suddenly I might like this back off that 50 to 60 area here and tell. Just a little small capper that tends to move pretty decently when we have any strength in natural gas. So Adara.
Yes.
I obviously wasn't here on Tuesday, but today, great day of trading, lots of opportunities. Before we get to Danielle, how about you talk me through? I know you had a good afternoon or a good midday because there was a lot of price action.
Oh, it
you
was
had that
fun.
big flush. But did you catch any shorts? If so, what?
Yeah, so I'm actually really happy. I ended up being flat in the day, but initially I had a really rough start to the day. I kept trying with Dell, and there were some positive trades on that, but I don't know why I kept trying with Dell, because Dell is not my type of stock at all. I like things that move quickly. I like things with small spreads. I like things I can just try to trade the pops and the drops on, and that's not really something you can do with Dell, unfortunately. The levels were mostly okay. It wasn't really my type of trade. So instead of just licking my wounds, I saw we had that big drop in the market, and I said, Adara, short every pop. So I just watched mostly AMD, but I did a little bit of Tesla and NVIDIA as well, specifically later. That first half hour though, every time AMD would get to a level of resistance on the book, I would take that thing short. So it was just rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, shorts. And I was able to make everything back. So I was really happy. Ended up flat in the day. And yeah, honestly, as Obi sometimes says, no regrets, because I was able to get flat and then make it all back. And I'm
No
ready
regrets.
for tomorrow and see what happens in these markets.
That's what I love to see. I mean, obviously, sometimes you have those types of days. I'll admit, the early morning, I had a couple not great trades in there myself, and I had to wait around for ARM to actually hit for me, and then that ended up being a hit. I love the fact that you caught AMD on this retracement. So you were shorting pops in AMD, but it's worth noting when this gave up the trend, eventually, because the trend was to the upside on AMD. AMD at one point was the strongest thing known to man today anyways. Still closing 4.5% up, but when this gave up trend, it was right in about here. Even if you were to draw a trend line, you're still giving it up right around 164, 165, and then all available pops were pretty solid. This pop back into 62, this lower high. Things got a little bit interesting at about 130, because you can see it just straight to the upside. But when it would make a curl, it was good.
Yeah.
And you could scalp it. You just had to wait for it to show you some kind of defined top, and then you were good to go. But it does bear mentioning, AMD still up 4.5%, almost 5% on today's trade. So it was one of the stronger names out there in the market and should be respected. Just jumping back in, Smith & Wesson Smith & Wesson still holding upside, but only about 6.5%. So it's giving a little bit back, not really holding the bid. It's not the ridiculous high flyer. I'm just intrigued by, when I hear that number, the first thing that popped in my head is it's not even $1 billion company, and it's doing more than $100 million in revenue.
Yeah.
So I think those numbers are pretty solid there. But I love that look on not just AMD, but just wait for the next trade. When the market turns like that and just starts going down, just look for some shorts.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you have to just punch short into something, but you can look for when the market makes a curl, when the market gives up a failed breakout at all-time highs and starts giving back. You see what NVIDIA did? Just find some shorts, join the trend, and that's how you battle back almost on a daily basis. I think if you start out rough in the morning, the last thing you want to do is fight the trend at lunch. The easiest thing is just jump on the trend, wherever it happens to be, and then try to benefit from that if you can.
Yeah, and I think trading your style too is huge, because I am a scalper at heart. I have my best trades when I scalp. And with Dell, you can't really scalp the way I want to, the way it was kind of moving. So having AMD, NVIDIA, Tesla, these are all stocks I'm very comfortable scalping. And as well with Tesla, I was actually really happy. I think low of the day at one point was 179.66. I got out of that 179.73s. So I was really, really proud. I took that low of daybreak past 179.81s, got out at 73s the second I saw a bit of a change in the book, and that was the lowest we got on the day. So small victories for sure, I think.
5 cents off the low of the day. At least yeah, from what I tell, let's just call it 5. It's less than 10 cents from the low of the day, and that was a pretty distinct turn. As a matter of fact, I would argue from that point where you got out there, that was it was probably a long from that point holding the 179. So Tesla down 1.8%. Great look being short that name. Just one, only because you mentioned Dell, and I like when we go over this. We're kind of just doing the trade review now while we get ready for Danielle. The thing about Dell, and I can 100% concur with what you said about it not being like necessarily a scalping stock.
Yeah.
When you look at, it's easy enough to say, hey, fell break at the open and it just trended down. But if you look at the nature of these levels, like this is 150, this is a 3-minute chart, this is 153.80. When it wicks up here, that's $1 wick, and then it reaffirms underneath. Like really taking that trend. I know this when I trade ARM, I have to trade it the same way. Like you're shorting this, like you're just getting in here once. If it doesn't break that, like you get your entry in here, it tries to break that dollar against you. If it just breaks straight, you're losing $1. You're not losing 10 cents or 20 cents.
Yeah.
If it holds it and confirms underneath, then I'm adding to it there, and I like it even more because it did the wick top. But you know you've just doubled your position. Your stop is still $1 higher.
Yeah, that's the hard thing.
And that's not always easy. But if you go into that, you know when you take that trade and it gives you that move, okay, you can scalp some at 1-to-1, but I'm taking that ARM trade, I've got to hold to the low. It's that simple. If you're giving it that much room, you got to hold to the low. That's the only way that you'll have that relative risk to reward if you take a trade like that. So if you're scalping, it's not the same thing. But one thing you can always do is ask yourself, if I was still in this trade or if I had made that trade, if I wasn't wicked out, like where would my exits be? Give yourself the mental practice of still picking where it would turn.
Yeah.
Right? Because you were right about Dell. It just wasn't a scalp trade. You were right about wanting to short it. It trended down the entire way. So you can ask yourself, what are the paper trades you can make and how you can always try to get better. That's what I'm always trying to do because it's the only way to go from trading one style of stock to another is to take some mental reps, and then when you go from that point to taking some reps on maybe smaller size, and then maybe you work something into your toolbox that will be good for your trading going forward. You guys let me know because we are excited. It is time. We have got Miss Shay.
Hey everyone, how are you doing?
Doing fantastic, Danielle. It's great to see you. We got Danielle Shay, Trader Danielle, as you all know. I don't think you need an introduction at this point because everyone's so happy with all the longs that have run into all-time highs and hit pretty much, as you were even saying to me when we were going back and forth, like every target got hit. What's more to say? Like all of these fantastic long opportunities, I know you picked out a bunch, have hit their targets. So we can talk about a lot, but the nature of this pullback today. Some stocks were a little bit more harsh than others. If you look at the chips, there were a lot of really harsh pullbacks in the chips today. And is this sort of a, hey, look how much we've rallied and look how ridiculous this is. How can people not be taking profit off? Is it the end of earnings season? Is it the summer? Do you attribute it to anything, or is it just par for the course? We've been trending up. Of course, we'll give something back.
I'd say it's a combination of events. I mean, it's definitely time to take profits. You know, we've been extended for a while. If we look at the NASDAQ, for example, on a daily chart and just focus on this, I mean, you can see how extended it's been and the run that it's been on. And so when you look at that and then you combine that with all the various price targets that we've been targeting in Microsoft, NVIDIA, in Google, Amazon's still been pulling back, but Netflix has had some really nice moves. When you can see that all of these major stocks are making targets at the same time as the index, it's definitely the time to be taking profits and not focusing on, how can I push this to the next high? Because that's where people really get burned when they're buying these super extended prices.
Yeah, and we talk about this sort of all the time. And in a day, it's always easy in day trading, right? Because you look at that like high of the day, especially given the time of day. Sometimes when it's trying to break, maybe it's trying to break at lunch. You're like, is it likely on that kind of a volume? But the exuberance when a stock is getting to an all-time high in the daily, sometimes you hear that term, never sell at all-time highs. I've always attributed that to, hey, when you're long-term investing, you don't want to do that. When you're trading something, if it's a swing trade, you've got to have places to take profits. And this is the leading question here, but we had a question from one of our viewers, Paula. Thank you, Paula, for the question, because I know you were involved in Meta, and Meta was obviously, there's no way to argue that it didn't work out as a long trade. So can you just run us through that trade, maybe the price targets that did get hit, what you might be looking for next with Meta, as it was obviously a fantastic bounce with a lot of others?
Oh, definitely. So when you're looking at Meta or any of the Magnificent Seven stocks, I mean, I first of all start off by always looking at the NASDAQ futures. And I mean, the main signal today for me in the NASDAQ futures was a break of the low of the high bar. And so anytime, you're following a trend and you look at this daily chart and you can see that that low of the high bar has been broken, and, you close the day down, especially looking at those lower time frame charts, you really have to take that into account with the Magnificent Seven stocks. And so Meta was absolutely one of those that just didn't make the price target. If we go over and we swap to a Meta chart here, and you can see the way that the NASDAQ just rolled today. I mean, that's first of all great for scalping. I hope you guys made some money today. But looking at Meta, I was trying to push it up into the 520 price target, but it fell short. So if you're looking at a lower time frame chart and you see something like this, 78-minute chart is a pretty good time frame for someone like me who's a swing trader. When you can see that the price comes right up below the previous high, and in this case, it also hit some Fibonacci retracement areas, and it just completely reverses, that tells me I'm not going to get my 520 price target and I just have to get out. Another thing that I want to point out about this stock is that I was originally looking at 520 to be the sticky point for options expiration, but the 500 strike has significantly more open interest. And so a lot of the time what you'll see with these Friday expirations is you'll see those stocks come right into those highest open interest strikes. And so I think that's what's happening with Meta, as it's just settling back down into the highest open interest strike at 500.
See, and that's such an important key. And this, of course, isn't just any options expiration. Tomorrow being the third Friday, it's also the semi-annual rebalancing for the major indexes. You got a lot going on there. But what I love about that, and thank you for answering the question about Meta, is that it's all well and good to have a trade that works and a bunch of trades that are working and going in the money, but sometimes you've got to have little things in there, like, as you mentioned, that open interest in the 500 strike and maybe not getting to that 520. We've just got to be able to take what you can get, and being able to adjust on the fly is important. We say you got to be mentally agile. So thank you for that. I appreciate you asking. We have a super chat in here as well, so I want to get this, and I haven't read it yet, so you're going to get put on the spot, Danielle. I hope you don't mind. From Ian Rispetto, thank you for the super chat there, Ian. Can you ask Danielle about Micron earnings this week, how she feels about playing it? So we've got, obviously, Micron is one of the few names that we still get to have earnings on this late in the season. It would have been a heck of a lot cooler if it had held those highs. But yeah, Micron, one of the names that kind of took it on the chin today, down 6%. It had been making essentially fresh highs every single day, but a bit of a pullback before we get their earnings next week. Any thoughts here?
Sure. So looking at Micron, obviously down move today, like you mentioned, but I like that ahead of earnings actually, because I mean, we talked about this one last week, and part of my problem with it was, as a swing trader, I really want to be getting involved 21 bars ahead of earnings, which would have been around the 24th of May. And the move had really already happened, and it's gotten so extended. And so for me at that point, it's almost impossible to trade it over the earnings report unless you want to short it, because it's just so extended. So now that it's come back 6%, and it might end up falling again tomorrow as well. If it could get back down to the 21 EMA, which would be around 135, that would be a much more reasonable place to trade this name. So, Micron, it's gapped up 2 quarters in a row. So typically I do like to trade it to the bullish side, but it's got to be at, a key support zone, a pullback zone. You can't really be getting super aggressive after a massive rally. So if it pulls back into 135, I wouldn't mind selling some put credit spreads on it. Definitely you have a positive trajectory as of late. It looks like last quarter they were estimated to lose 41 cents and they made 42 cents, and then they gapped up 17%. The quarter before that, they lost a little bit less than what was expected and gapped up 8%. So pretty positive trajectory here with the stock, and we'll have to see what it's doing. Let's see, it looks like it's reporting on the 26th. So we'll have to see where it's trading around then to see what kind of options trades we could do.
There you go. Thank you for answering that question on Micron. There, I want to, if we can, I want to pivot to something we've talked about, a few stocks that have been making fresh highs and doing pullbacks. How about one that is nowhere near any highs? And so I always ask you about Tesla. I feel like every single time we talk, I want to hear your thoughts on Tesla and Microsoft. Now, Tesla in particular, it really did feel like last week there was a chance it was breaking down. And you got back, you had that little push underneath the 50. It was underneath 170 for a hot minute, and then it did another patented Tesla bounce that hasn't really gone that much of anywhere. So for the day trader, it doesn't seem like it's that complicated. Like, okay, well then wait for it to get down to the low 170s and look for longs down there when it gets there and play some nice bounces. And when it's trading in the high 80s, then you want to look to fade it. But in terms of looking where it's actually going in any kind of longer term sense, it's a pretty long and interesting consolidation that's not taking us anywhere in Tesla. So what are your thoughts here?
I thought the Tesla was going to break out up above 185. It was finally having, good enough catalyst that it could break out of this wedge. And it did break slightly above 185. We almost made it through 190. And so on the break of 185 and on the break of 190, I wanted to target 200, but here's the thing is that break only really lasted a day or two and it kind of lost momentum. So I think at this point we need another catalyst in Tesla, but I still want to try to trade it to the upside on a break of 185 to 190, especially because we have this consolidation. It hasn't broken below the 50 simple. Originally, I was basically saying, okay, if it breaks this 50 simple, we short it. If it breaks up above 185, we go long. It didn't break the 50 simple meaningfully anyways. So at this point, I'm going to focus on trying to look to the upside, and that's especially because of the earnings report coming up. So I know Tesla hasn't done very well over earnings for the past 2 years, but they did gap up 12% last quarter. So there may be some short covering before that report. There also may be some hopefuls. I've been seeing a few Cybertrucks driving around. I'm not sure about you, but could be a catalyst.
I can't even tell a lie. My family is from Antigua. Both my parents are from the island of Antigua, and there's this family WhatsApp chat that just like all of my aunts and uncles and cousins are in. And suffice to say, I have one that lives in the States, and he sends a picture, and why he's sending a picture from his car or whatever, like it's fine. But it's the back of a Cybertruck, and he's asking the group, "What is this thing? It looks he's mocking it like it looks ridiculous, blah blah, all this good stuff." He hasn't been in the States that long, and I'm like, "It's a Cybertruck. It's Tesla. You've never heard of Tesla?" And then he goes and waxes poetic about Elon. I'm like, what kind of can of worms did I open up? And I found out that one of my uncles does not like Elon Musk whatsoever. But you are seeing them out there. I'm not a huge fan of the truck being the catalyst for them. I don't think it's doing enough to drive sales. I feel like you got to be looking at, it's automated driving. It's a full self-drive. It's the robots. It's got to be something bigger. I know you ended up not getting, before we finish off here, I know you ended up not getting the Cybertruck. Are you changing your mind on us here? Because you went forward.
We ended up canceling the Cybertruck order. I have one Tesla already, and, I like the car. It's a nice car. I can't complain about it. The charging hasn't been an issue at all because I have a charger at my house and there's superchargers everywhere as well. So I do like that, but I didn't want to be with only 2 electric vehicles. You never know, some kind of crazy apocalypse or some situation happens, and I just wanted to stick with 1 gas and 1 electric. So
you know what? I cannot agree with that more. Like I have some family in Florida, and that is exactly what they say. They say, look, if a hurricane comes, I'm not going to be sitting there with only electric vehicles. I want to be able to have another option to get out of Dodge if I have to. And I think that's an important thing. That's probably why you get the early adapters, and some people are reluctant to make that move, whether it's getting the first or whether it's getting that second vehicle. And I think you're just going to have to wait it out. Thank you so much, for answering the questions of the viewers. We don't have a lot of earnings to get through, so appreciate you going through those questions on Meta, on Micron as well, out of the blue. And thank you, Ian and Paula, for those questions. Tell everybody where they can find you outside of when you pop on the show here a couple of times a week.
Oh, definitely. So you can find me on YouTube at Trader Danielle, which this is my page right here. And you can also find me on X at Trader Danielle.
There it is. Thank you so much, Danielle Shea, one of our favorite guests. And can't wait to talk to you next week. And maybe we'll see what happens with Micron. And of course, those options expirations tomorrow should reveal a lot for us. Danielle Shea, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Ooh, I got to hit the button. No, you got to catch. The whole point is you got to catch Adara when she's dancing to that Trader Talk thing. I was doing some moves too, but like Adara, who also, by the way, you actually dance. Like, what don't you do?
Well, I used to, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm not a dancer.
I guess, fair.
Either you are or you aren't. I'm not going to pretend to be. My brother's a dancer.
That's cool.
My brother was a salsa dancing instructor.
That's amazing.
I told this. And this is basically Adara's like, that's amazing, and Ramin goes, what? And this is essentially, I love my older brother, and trust me when I tell you, anybody that is over 6 feet tall and makes children's shows as an animator, so he animates kids' cartoons for a living, and he does rock climbing, and he's a salsa dancing instructor. You can imagine where I'm getting at with this. Like, my brother's the ish. I tell it like it is.
That's amazing.
He's a fantastic dad too. I'm just gonna throw it all out there for you. But he's great. He's a great older brother. But you know what time it is? It's past. Oh my goodness, it's already 4:30. I'm really bad at this. I'm like there used to be when I would fill in for Sean. I'm doing it more regularly, so I should get better with this. There used to be like this countdown. We'll get to 4:30, and we did some trade review. I'm glad for that. Smith & Weston to the upside, but I want to get a little bit of a roll call in here. And life is perfectly fair. I can't, like my brother is, I look for him, I look up to him for a reason, like he's the man. And the best thing about it is he's always done, he's always been like my biggest supporter, which.
That's awesome.
And when I take chances out there, Bobot, oh, are you kidding me? I do not do that. You stop me in my tracks. Daggering and dance hall is the most dangerous, ridiculous thing to ever go to the West Indies. Don't look it up. It's horrible, absolutely horrible. But let's get this roll call going. My mind went immediately to like some ridiculous videos that I've seen and things that I've heard cousins do, which you should never do. Dance hall can be dangerous at times. Shout out to Bears versus Bulls, the best moderator in the chat. I didn't actually see if I beat you in that duel for 100 points, so you can let me know if I won or not.
I think Bears versus Bulls took your points and then gave you more points, I believe.
Oh, you did?
Interaction.
Usually,
that was Bears versus Bulls.
If somebody gives me the points, I immediately spin them in the chat because why not? It's free and it's just points, so you just have fun with it. So shout out to Bears versus Bulls. Thank you so much for that, and thank you for being the best moderator out there. Dragos, I love that comment. It's why people buy hybrids. I think that's a good reason as to why you've had some of the traditional automakers actually hold up pretty well. Shout out to you. Shout out to the Piper. Shout out to Manny Ayala. Perspolis. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Thank you as well. Alex Diaz in the chat. James Dell. Stan O. Bright Awakening. TH. Alex again. You need to bring. I just missed it. You need to bring High on the show. See, my brother on the show. I don't know the next time my brother lives out in Halifax, so he's out east. It's like Canada's a big place. That's not that close to here. The next time he's here, if he comes on, I'll definitely introduce you guys. But I don't know the next time he's coming. He'll let me know. Hopefully sometime this summer. Great dude. What else we got going on here? Antoine Aguilar. We got Trenches Trader, we got Darwin, we got Marie L, we got Dave B, Trey Only, yeah, real deal, we talked about that before. Kurt Hoffman, we got B-Bot 5000, Lava, Bora Hout, DJ Marshall, Tony Kiever, go Neil, go Adara, 1320 Wolf. Appreciate you, Mr. Westermeyer, the Piper in the chat. Kurt again. We've got Alan Smith. We've got Bebot again with Bears versus, I love that, Bear versus Bull equals GOAT. I don't know. See, this is how you know I'm an old man.
I like that.
Because it's literally never occurred to me to just put that in the chat when I'm praising Bears versus Bulls. It's so obvious. It's so perfect. Thank you, Bebot, as well. So Sean kind of spoiled it. I'm not going to pretend that it hasn't been a difficult day. And let's be real. When you're trading, you want to be in your right frame of mind. Yeah. You know, you want to be, if you're going to put risk on, you want to be making decisions in the right frame of mind. I've been in some pain today. It was pretty uncomfortable. It's my first day trying to come back. If you haven't been paying attention, I tore my Achilles on Monday. So I'm trying to, it's going to be a long road back, but you know, today was the first day. Hopefully I'm going to figure out a way to be a little more comfortable and a little bit less pain. And we'll be back next week for sure, but I'm going to take tomorrow off. So thank you for Obi for stepping in. And I want to remind everybody, if you're getting your mind right, one of the best ways to do that is to check out the podcast, which they've already filmed episode 4. What? Don't do what? Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
We're not supposed to bang the table.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Rammer. We're not going to bang the table anymore. So I'm going to figuratively pound the table that you check out the podcast, which is dropping on Saturday. They've already taped episode 4, Brennan and Sean. It is the Freedom and Wealth Podcast. Scan that QR code below. You know it's going to be good. They got the goods. They work hard on it, and they do a fantastic job every single week. You can even check clips, check out the page, check out some short clips, have fun with it. Go back and listen to episodes 1, 2, and 3 if you haven't done so already. And everybody on the team, sans myself, will be back tomorrow. It is triple witching. It is S&P rebalance. It is CrowdStrike. And a couple of other names going into the S&P 500. It's going to be a big day worth of trade, so be sure to tune right back in tomorrow morning at 8:30. Good luck trading, everybody.